Hey guys, this is CRP talking to you all. How have you been? How you doing? I'm so excited about this to tell you the truth, and I'm really kind of nervous. So if I start to spurg out or act like an idiot, you're gonna have to forgive me. Before we get started, just want to check that the systems are okay and that everything is working fine. Can you give me a show of hands? Can you raise that little hand? There should be a little button there that you can raise. If you hear me properly, please raise it. Raise it up. Don't worry about raising it down. I have a button here that I can put your hand down. Just I want you all, if you can hear me properly, just raise your hands. Terrific. Fantastic. Just going to wait a little bit because there are about 120 people who are signed up. And so we'll wait for those other 60 odd people, 50 odd people to arrive here. And yeah, isn't this cool? I'm really excited about this platform. Um, I'll tell you about it. I mean, I'm not getting any kind of sponsorship from them. Okay, this is a professional webinar software, and it costs 250 bucks a month. And I figured that it would be money well worth spent to do these weekly live streams that are interactive, because as you can see, I can unmute you and you can ask your questions live on the air. And so I'm gonna just start doing that at random. Let me put all your hands down, and who wants to say something? Raise your hand if you want to say something. Okay, Sarab. So sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Sarab. How's it going? You
Hey,
there?
yes, I am here. Hi, coach.
How's it
Can you
going?
hear me?
Yeah, I hear
It's
you
okay.
fine.
It's good. It's good. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to you. God.
Well, there's nothing to it. I'm just a guy just like you, man. And so glad I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you could make it here. Yeah. Where are you at?
I'm in Montreal in Canada. I don't know if you
You dropped out there. What did you say?
know. I'm really grateful for your response, like always.
I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. Yeah, let me well, I'll get to you in a little bit because we're just
Yes,
gonna go
yes,
around just to
yes,
say hi.
yes.
Okay. Let's see, Patrick Delvios. Let me unmute you, Patrick. Patrick, how's it going?
Oh, I'm pretty good yourself.
I'm doing great, great. Yeah, did you have any trouble with the software?
I did not know.
Good, 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 good. Because this is the software I'm going to be using into the future, and I'm going to be doing these every Sunday at this hour, which I think is pretty convenient for most people, especially now that we're all under essentially house arrest.
Yeah,
Where are you at, by the way, Patrick?
huh?
Where are you?
I am in Idaho.
Oh, and how's it going out there? What's the reaction, the vibe?
I mean it's seems somewhat normal out here, but obviously we have a stay in home order as well. So,
Are they enforcing it with the police?
oh no, the governor just advised that everyone stays inside and
Okay,
stays
yeah.
within their local communities. That's
And how
all.
long have you been locked up?
Let's see. Last week is when the governor initiated his order. We're one of the
Mhm.
last states to have a like stay in place order.
Okay.
So
Oh man, Patrick, I'm so grateful for you to have joined us. Thanks so much.
well, thank you. I appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna ask us say hi to a couple of other people. Oh, there's Kyle Quigley, I see. How's it going, Kyle?
Well, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm not gonna lie, I figured this was just gonna be you talking again. I didn't expect a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I just threw it together with some charts, just to pretend that I make any kind of sense. That's the deal.
Right.
I figure if I
It's
pretend hard
organized
enough,
chaos.
exactly. I figure if I pretend hard enough, people might believe it. So anyway, now I'm going to be talking about like a bunch of stuff. Kyle, thank you so much for coming. And
Of course.
yeah, let me. We're at about 80 odd people. Okay, so stragglers will come in, and like I said in the post, these presentations, these webinars, the recordings will be posted the next day, so you will be able to see it even if you weren't able to attend. I hope you can attend because the for me the high point of this is the interaction. especially now that, we're all like locked up and we're not talking to a whole lot of people. I have to admit that I thought that I was a fairly introverted guy, that I could handle being alone for a while, but it's just been a little bit nerve-wracking, not having anybody to talk to. And it's driving me a little bit nuts. So I have you guys. So I'm going to talk to you. So you're fucked. That's why I set up Patreon, so I could talk to you guys. So let's get started. Okay. So this is what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about, this is more about economics and finance. I'm going to go over the unemployment numbers. I'm going to go over the issue of the markets as they've been doing the last week. And of course, the big bailouts, right? Which people are saying $2 trillion, $6 trillion, but actually when you start looking at the numbers, it's a little more subtle than that. And I'll get to that soon enough. But what I wanted to do here is just really look at the economic question. And the overriding economic question that we should be thinking about is this depression going to be inflationary or deflationary? That's the number one priority, because we're in a depression, rather, excuse me. We are in a depression. To pretend otherwise is just foolish. So we have to look at it in the face. We have to understand that our economy is crashing, will continue to crash. Every day that passes that we are, as a people, in lockdown, our global economy suffers more and more. Every day is worse than the last day in terms of loss of capital, because companies are going to go under, the factories are going to shutter, and most of those will not come back. Most of those, I'm not kidding, okay? Especially if this goes on as long as I think it will, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But the question we have to keep in mind is, will this be inflationary or deflationary? Because if it's one or the other, you have different strategies as to how to weather this storm, okay? Okay, let's get cracking. So the first thing I want to talk about, oops, hello, you all there? I think I might have done something. So raise your hands if you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Sorry about this, because I must have fucked up something here. You all can hear me? Yeah, you all good? Okay, good. Let me just put your hands down for a second and I'll get started here. There we go. Okay, this is where we're at with coronavirus. The worldwide cases are 680,453. Now, it's rapidly approaching 1 million cases. We'll hit 1 million cases in 3-4 days on the outside. I mean, before the 1st of April, we will have crossed 1 million cases worldwide. The deaths are 32,000. The US cases, now that's something interesting. They are growing at an incredible rate, okay? Right now, this morning I checked, it was 123,000 cases, almost 124,000. 2,229 deaths. Now, it has been doubling the number of deaths every 3 days, okay? So that is really troubling. Now, I'm highlighting a series of data points. The Italian cases and Italian deaths, and German cases and German deaths. See, something interesting has happened. People have been wondering, how come the Italians have so many more dead people, okay, than the Germans? The Germans have 455 dead. The Italians have 10,023 dead. And the number of German cases, or rather the number of Italian cases, is only about 1.5 times as many as the German cases. So why so many more deaths? Well, it seems that we're coming to some interesting conclusions about that. It seems that in Italy, if somebody dies of anything, they check to see if they had coronavirus. And if they did, they just mark it up as he died of coronavirus, irrespective of whether they died from some other disease and they just simply had coronavirus, but were not necessarily in the hospital because of coronavirus. Now, the Germans are doing the exact opposite. If somebody has an underlying condition that is considered life-threatening, and they catch coronavirus and die, they don't die, they are not listed as having died from coronavirus. They're listed as having died from the underlying cause. And so that's why I wanted to highlight these two numbers and the disparity between them, the Italian deaths and the German deaths. The German deaths are incredibly low contrasted to the number of cases that they've identified, whereas the Italian deaths are incredibly high. And it's because of this reason. The Italians are basically saying, anybody who dies, who had coronavirus, no matter how mild or asymptomatic, they died of coronavirus. Whereas the Germans are saying, the person might have puked their lungs out because of coronavirus, but if they had like cancer or some other shit like that, or obesity, then they died of that, obesity or cancer or whatever, not coronavirus. So that's why that disparity. I'm mentioning this to you so that you can keep it in mind into the future, because I think that there is going to be ambiguity as to why people die, okay? And all these numbers, they're always going to be like subject to interpretation. I want you to keep that in mind into the future. Now, you see there are these two charts that I have. The linear chart of total cases, that's trending upward, and the linear total of total deaths, that's also, you know, it's hockey sticks, right? This is not the worrisome chart. This is the one. That one. That's the one that's really fucking scary, okay? This is the logarithmic scale. I hope you guys can see this on your computer screen. If you're watching on a mobile phone, I'll explain. What happens is that the scale is in log 10, and so it's each increment is 10 times the previous increment. It goes, for instance, when you're looking at the number of total cases, it goes from the 0 line is 100, then the first line is 1,000, then the second line is 10,000, 100,000, a million. And as you can see, the slope of the curves is just going right to the moon, okay? It's sort of like zigzagged. It went straight up, curved, you know, slowing down, and then we're right back up again. And that's where we're at. This thing is only getting started, okay? Now, I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound kind of awful, but I believe that by the 1st of April, in the United States, there will be 10,000 dead. And I think that by the 12th of April to the 15th of April, there will be 100,000 dead. And that is horrifying to think about it. But I've crunched the numbers several different ways, and that's the only conclusion I have at this time. To repeat, by the 1st of April, which is just a few days away, there will be close to 10,000, if not more than 10,000 dead. And within 12 days after that, 12 to 15 days after that, we will cross the 100,000 mark dead, okay? Which I think is horrifying. And you might think that that's kind of crazy, but the fact of the matter is, you look at the preparations that are going on, especially in some of the focus points of this epidemic, Louisiana, New York, and it seems like a reasonable inference that that's where we're going. This is just really going to be horrible. Oops, I'll get to that in just a second. But what I want to say is that, see, this is going to be really, really bad. A lot of people at this time are saying, why did we crash our economy for this coronavirus? What's the big deal? I think that what is going to happen is that as these deaths start to pile up, a lot of people are going to start to shut up insofar as that argument is concerned. Right now, when we don't have all these dead people, people are mouthing off and saying that it was a mistake to have crashed the economy. You know, a few dead people is awful, but, you know, the economy is, you know, we're going to impoverish our grandchildren, shit like that. I mean, they don't want to look like total assholes when they say this, of course. I mean, nobody wants to look like a total asshole. And so, yeah, they're trying to they're trying to gussy it up somehow. But basically, they want to say, ooh, no audio. I'm sorry, I just got thrown. Real quick, do you guys hear me? If you can hear me, raise your hand, please. Yeah, you can hear me good? Okay, yeah, because I was just checking the questions and there were a couple of people saying that there was no audio, so I guess it's their system. Anyway, a lot of people are saying that it was a mistake to have crashed the economy for this coronavirus. When the bodies start piling up, those people are going to shut up, okay? I personally, and this is my argument, I think that the economy should not have been closed down, though I do believe that we are going to suffer these catastrophic losses. My thinking is that, see, we can't just stop going to work and try to flatten the curve, because I think that it's too late, personally. I think that we should have flattened the curve back in late January, early February. Then is when everybody should have gone into lockdown. Not now. Now I think it's too late, okay? But, you know, okay, I'm just one guy, you know, with an opinion, and opinions are like assholes, but irrespective, we got to look at what we got. And what we have is that, see, we're going to be all locked up. As the bodies start piling up, people are going to be fucking terrified of going outside, because also a lot of people, if you noticed, are starting to look at this thing like the fucking Black Death. Now, the Black Death was actually serious. 1 out of 2 people died of that, okay? But this, tragic though it is, I am not minimizing it. I don't want to sound like a heartless bastard, but tragic though it may be, it will affect a relatively small portion of the population. Most people, 80% of the population, will get the coronavirus and either not even realize it, or it'll pass with minor symptoms that are totally manageable, okay? I'm not belittling the suffering and the tragedy of some of the people who will die from this disease. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying that it is relatively mild in the scope of pandemics, okay? But it is going to cause a lot of deaths, and because of that, people are going to be very, very scared. They are already very, very scared. As the dead pile up, people are going to want to stay in, people are going to freak out, and the economy is going to continue to deteriorate, okay? I mean, that's as sure as carts to horses. The economy, every day that the economy is closed down, is going to be worse, okay? Okay, so, oops, sorry about that. Here we go. Unemployment. That was the big number that came out, what was it, Wednesday, Thursday? Holy fucking shit. There's no other way to put it. Unemployment claims shot up to 3.3 million, as you can see in this chart. Now, the previous record was 665,000 back in March of 2009. You know, when we're coming off the global financial crisis, right? 665,000, that's per week, by the way. We are going to see more and more incredible numbers in that regard, okay? I mean, just looking at the chart, there's nothing to say. Look at it. It you know, trundles along. It spikes up there in 2009, keeps on going, and then boom, boom. I mean, look at that fucker, right? That is almost five times the previous record. It's unprecedented, the number of unemployed in just one go, okay? I mean, who are claiming unemployment. Now, this is the key thing. The US labor force has 164.6 million people, right? The current U3 unemployment, U3 is the metric of people who are gainfully employed full-time, okay? Because there are different metrics by the Department of Labor Statistics. There's U1, that's part-time. U2, it's slightly different, I forget. U3 is like fully employed. U6 is like everybody who's employed, okay? So U3 unemployment, that's the number that people usually talk about when they talk about unemployment, the headline number that is run on CNN. That is currently 3.5, okay? Now, that's currently before this shit, right? My thinking is that it's gonna be at least, it's gonna triple both of those numbers at least, you know, go to 10% and 20% and probably a hell of a lot more. I mean, if you tell me, if you're like a time traveler from a month from now and you come here and tell me that unemployment is at 40%, I'm not going to be a bit surprised, okay? Because this is, you know, this is blowing out everything, right? But here's the key issue. The unemployment is going to be skewed, of course, to retail and food and beverage, but it's going to be skewed against high-skilled workers, office workers, okay? Because see, a lot of workers like not just blue collar like construction, but also maintenance people, they're on the job. They have to, okay? They have to be on the job. And so, you know, it's going to be hitting people who are more well off, more educated, okay? And so, yeah, that's going to be interesting because a lot of times in the past, in previous bouts of unemployment, the unemployment hit everybody, yeah, sure, but you know, it tended to hit low-skilled, low-wage workers more than high-skilled workers. But this one is the opposite, which is pretty interesting because we're going to see the reaction. I mean, when educated people start to be unemployed, they start to bitch a lot more, and they put a lot more political pressure. And so the politicians start to jump and try to make those people happy, okay? So yeah, it's going to be an interesting sight to see. Anyway. Moving on, this is the unemployment number, right? Okay, so the stock markets. Look at these charts. If you notice there, these are for the last 6 months, both of them. On the left is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, on the right is the NASDAQ Composite, right? Now, if you notice there, I put when I took the screenshot, and where am I? Oh, when I put the screenshot, I posted it right there at the peak of the market. The peak of the market in the Dow Jones was February 12th. It peaked out at 29,551. And the NASDAQ, as you can see there, it peaked out on the 19th of February at just shy of 10,000, 9,817. And so as you can see, both of these markets have fallen roughly, what? The NASDAQ 25%, almost exactly 25%. And that's after a bounce, right? And the Dow Jones has fallen, roughly 27% or so. And again, after the bounce. Now, notice in both of these charts, okay? Notice, you got to that peak, right? February 12th, February 19th, and it fell. And then it started like jagged up and fell some more, jagged up, fell some more, fell all the way to the bottom, which was like last week, right? And then it popped right up, okay? This is called a dead cat bounce, okay? For those of you who don't know much about finance, yeah, dead cat bounce. And why is it called a dead cat bounce? You take a cat and you throw it off the roof of a building, right? Like a 10-story building, right? You throw it off that roof because you're a cruel bastard. And that poor cat, it's screaming as it goes to the bottom and hits the pavement, right? But then what happens? It hits the pavement and it bounces. It's dead, but it bounces. That's why it's called the dead cat bounce. Now, the reason that we had this bounce, for those of you who are more sophisticated, it was because of what's known as a short squeeze. Yeah, a lot of people had seen this fall, and as the stock markets are falling, they started selling short these different companies, figuring that this would continue. And now what happens, of course, is that when you have a short, when you sell something short and it goes up in price, you have to post collateral against that bet, right? And so what happens a lot of times is that you wound up selling something short, it started rising in value, and all of a sudden you have to post collateral. You go out into the market and buy to post the collateral, and as you buy, you start to drive up the price of the asset that you shorted. And the asset, instead of going down as it should because it's dead, it starts to go up. That's a short squeeze. That's why you get a dead cat bounce. Now you notice here that the cat bounced, and now on Friday it started to go down. It was down 4% on the Dow Jones and just shy of 4% on the NASDAQ. And by the way, now we're looking at 4%. We're like, oh, it just fell down a little. It fell a little, right? But in the past, 4% moves would be like, holy shit, what the fuck happened? Yeah, that's how far we've gone. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Yeah, this is just holy shit. But anyway, the point I want to say is that, see, the stock markets, where did my click go? There it goes. Excuse me. The stocks are going to continue to fall. Okay, we had the short squeeze, everybody got wiped out, and now it's starting to fall again. Okay, now this number, this is crude. Now we're going to get into oil and commodities, right? A lot of people have been saying that we're going to get stagflation, shit like that, which it would seem reasonable, but here's the thing. Oil is collapsing. It is collapsing, like really collapsing. This is a year-long chart of West Texas Intermediate crude. It doesn't really matter because the difference between them for our purposes, between West Texas Intermediate crude or Brent light sweet and stuff like that, it's not important for us. What's important is the general trend. And all the different oils are trading at like this, in this range, okay? Now, notice this chart, in the last year, oil was trading roughly between $50 and $65. The average, you could say, just guesstimated, was like $57, right? And all of a sudden, here we are at 20 bucks. And let me go to the next one so I can show you exactly the prices. Oops, where'd it go? Oh, damn it, damn it. Okay, well, take my word for it. It's currently at $21 a barrel, okay? And there is the expectation that it will likely continue to fall. Now, why is it falling? Well, two reasons. Number one, just before this coronavirus outbreak, we had this whole situation with Russia and Saudi Arabia, where they failed to reach an agreement to put a floor on the prices of oil, okay? Because they want to maximize their income from their oil. And they failed to reach an agreement, And at the same time, they want to hurt the American shale industry, the so-called fracking industry. They want to hurt it because frackers, they are economically viable when oil is roughly at $30 to $35 per barrel. Some oil companies can do it cheaper. They can do it for, like, say, $27, even $25 a barrel, okay? Others are more expensive, you know, 30, 35, some even $40 a barrel. But if it's above that price, then those American oil companies are making money. If oil is below that price, then it is not economical for them to continue fracking, and so they shut down those wells, okay? It's fairly easy to shut down a well that you have been fracking, and it takes approximately 90 days to restart it, okay? So the Saudis and the Russians, for reasons of their own, wanted to kill off the frackers. And so, but at the same time, they wanted to make money, and so they had a little falling out. And so they started this oil war of basically dumping oil into the market and undercutting everybody's price. Now that, of course, is what led to the initial fall here that happened in February. If you notice, January of 2020, it was above $60 a barrel, and then it quickly fell. That was because of the oil war between the Saudis and the Russians. And then if you notice, it sort of like picked back up. And then coronavirus hit, and that's all coronavirus. Because of course, if people are locked in, they're not driving to work. If people can't fly, no jet fuel. So if you have less demand, and this is key, remember, demand. If you have less demand, what happens? The price of that good falls because you have less people who want to buy it. And so the sellers, what are they forced to do? Are they going to keep something expensive that nobody wants to buy? No, they're going to lower the prices until they find a buyer. And that's what's been happening. And they're going to continue to sell oil more cheaply. By the way, I took a quick gander at the agriculturals, you know, wheat and so forth, and they're all more or less steady, okay? And nothing is really happening in those markets. And so you can keep an eye on them yourselves if you want to, but insofar as agriculturals, everything is hunky-dory. Now, what's interesting is the gold and silver market, okay? Now, this is something to think about. Now, of course, a lot of people are buying gold, right? They're buying gold because they're very worried about the future. Right? They're very worried because they think also that all these spending packages, which I'm going to get to in just a second, will mean that the dollar will inflate and potentially be worthless at some point in the future. So they figure, now is the time to get in on gold, right? Now, that's why the price of gold has been going up, okay? It had been going up from before, okay? If you notice that in 2019, in the second half of 2019, it was floating around $1,500 mark. Now it's shot up. It shot up to just shy of 1,700, and now it's at 16 and a quarter, right? 1,627. Silver is real interesting. Now I looked into this, and the reason that silver has fallen in price is because of it is used industrially on the one hand, and there isn't the expectation that there will be a lack of silver, and that's why it's fallen. I think that this is really, really interesting. Now, look at this historical price. By the way, both of these charts are 5-year charts. Notice, okay? It's from all the way from 2015 until the present. Now, if you notice, you know, silver peaked out at 20 bucks in mid 2016, and it's been slowly diving around, moving around, and all of a sudden it was at 18 and holding more or less steady in the second half of 2019, and all of a sudden, poof, it's down to 14 and change, right? What's even more interesting is this chart on the right here, if you can see it on your screen. And unfortunately, the resolution is quite small. I couldn't get a better resolution of this ratio, but I'll read it to you so that you know. The ratio, the current ratio between gold and silver is 113. That is, if you take an ounce of gold and divide it by the current price of an ounce of silver, it comes to 113, okay? Now, the ratio at its peak was 65 to 1. That is, 65 ounces of silver would buy you 1 ounce of gold. But now it's 113 ounces of silver buy you 1 ounce of gold, right? That is really, really interesting. And I want you to keep that in mind because, you know, these presentations are like a story and I want to give you the punchline at the end, okay? But keep that ratio in mind. Okay, yeah, so that's what's been going on in the markets. That's what's been going on, you know, with coronavirus and all that shit. Now let's talk about the stimulus. Now the stimulus, they touted it as $2 trillion. $2 trillion of stimulus, and this is technically true. Okay, that you know, it is 2 trillion, but it's the devil is in the details, and you start looking at it a little bit more closely, and you realize that some of it is so much bullshit. Okay, but I'll get to that in a moment. The important thing now is for citizens, for regular people in the United States, and my audience is principally American, so that's why I'm bringing this up. In each of the other countries of you all, I mean, you'll have to deal with your own country. Okay, sorry about that. Now, for U.S. citizens, it's going to be a one-time payment of $1,200 per person for everyone earning less than $75,000. Between $75,000 and $99,000, it'll be increasingly less and less until once you hit like $100,000, you don't get paid anything. Okay. Now, of course, if you're married without children, it'll be $2,400. You know, and each kid that you have as a dependent is an additional $600. But this is a one-time payment. Okay. For me, it just sounds like a bribe. Okay, just to keep people happy, you know. Economically, it does nothing. I mean, $1,500 is no big deal. What is a big deal is the next point. They beefed up the unemployment insurance payments. They're adding an extra $600 per week per worker. Okay, that is, there are 4.5 weeks to a month. Okay, so think about it. That's $2,700 on top of what somebody would get from unemployment insurance in their particular state. Okay, that's a big bump. That is the number that people aren't paying attention to. That's the big one. That's the one that will keep a lot of people happy. The fact of the matter is, some Republicans, and rightfully so, are criticizing it because they're saying basically they're going to wind up, people are going to wind up getting more money from unemployment than from their actual salaries, which is true. Okay, I think that that amount of money is kind of insane because this shit is going to go for 4 months. The one-time payment of $1,200, that's the headline number, but this second thing of $600 per week per worker, that's the big payoff. Okay. I think it's grossly unfair personally. Okay, because, you know, I mean, it sucks if you're like in a delicate position, yeah, and it's great to get more unemployment benefits, but it just seems very unfair to people who are more prepared, is what I'm saying. I have to admit, I have mixed feelings about it because I'm sympathetic, very sympathetic to people who are in real trouble because of this thing. I'm very sympathetic to them. I know many of them are my friends. I know, and I have nothing but compassion and sympathy for them. On the other hand, it seems really fucking excessive, the amount of money they're getting. Okay. Okay. The next item, which is actually important, is the deferral of federal student loans. Okay, the so-called direct loans. Notice this is the federal loans. Okay, not Perkins, not the state loans, and not private loans that you get from private vendors, banks, and whatnot. Okay, this is the federal student loans. Okay, now so everybody's loans get deferred until September 30th. Now that's an interesting number because the people making this bill basically figured that this shit is going to last through September 30th. Okay, and I think that is sort of like they're tipping their hand, because if you notice that the authorities are not talking about when this will end, they're not saying this at all, and they're vaguely pointing into the future. They're vaguely talking bullshit about some vaccine, but you know, they're not saying, okay, this shit, we think it'll end this date, but this number here in the bill, that's when they think it'll end. Okay, that's when they think it's going to end on September 30th. Okay, and also, by the way, the unemployment insurance is also going to be for 4 months, which what's that? April, May, June, July. So yeah, towards the end of the summer. Yeah. Wages, garnishments from wages are suspended for federal debts, which will be a blessing for a lot of people. And here's something interesting. There's an eviction moratorium if your landlord has mortgages outstanding with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or other federal entities. Now, this is real fucking interesting, okay? So if you're renting in the US, you should look into this right quick. Find out if your landlord has any outstanding loan that is being processed through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Because if he does, you can potentially, I'm not recommending you do this, okay? But you could potentially just stop paying rent and he can't kick you out. Yeah, that's basically what this is, a license for renters to stop paying. Yeah, and most landlords, they probably have some mortgages outstanding with one of these entities, with these federal entities. Look it up real careful, but it could potentially allow you to quit paying rent and stay there and not get evicted. Now, I think that this matters to a lot of people who are really just, they don't have any money, you know. Those people who don't have money, yeah, this will matter to them, okay? They don't have any cash, I mean. And because they don't have any employment right now because everything's shut down, yeah, they'll be able to save their money, whatever little money they have, for food, for things, for necessities, right? So yeah, this I think is actually the most important thing of this bill. Yeah, the moratorium on evictions. Okay, so let's talk about the stimulus bill for businesses, right? I'll just go through the numbers quick, and then I'll give you like an overview of what it means. First of all, the Treasury sets up a lending program of $500 billion. $45 billion is going to be direct aid. The rest is going to be at the Treasury's discretion, okay? Now, 100 billion is going to go for hospitals. 58 billion is going to go to airlines, half in outright grants, and that part of the half, the 29 million of those 58 billion, that comes from the previous thing, okay? This is the only item that's sort of like included in that top item. 58 billion in airlines, half grants and half loans, and plus a bunch of tax deferments, okay? Do keep in mind that the airline industry has very high taxes because they use those taxes to pay different things, you know, airport construction, crap like that, you know, and airport maintenance and so forth. Those are basically going to be deferred, not waived, deferred, okay? There's going to be 150 billion to state governments, another 25 billion for food stamps and child nutrition, 24 billion for farmers and ranchers, 30 billion for schools, okay? Yeah, just a whole grab bag, but you got to keep in mind that a lot of it is going to be loans, okay? That's the thing that's key, loans. Loans that are essentially have to be paid back. And we'd have to look in the fine print of this bill to find out if the government is going to get warrants for the businesses that it loans money to. It's not clear from what I've been reading. I actually have to read the bill, and it's a long bill. Warrants are basically that if you don't do something, the government gets a piece of the action insofar as the business is concerned, okay? And so it could be that some of these loans and some of these monies that are going to be put out are going to have strings attached, which would be good. One of the strings that everybody knows already is that no company can put out dividends during this time. Any company that receives money from the government, from the stimulus bill, cannot put out dividends, pay out dividends to its shareholders, and cannot go ahead with a stock buyback, okay, which is a good thing, but they should rein in the companies more, but that's a matter of opinion, so forget about it. But the thing is, these monies that are going out, that they're loans, okay? Now, why does this matter so much? Well, because it means that the money's going to go out, but it's going to eventually come back, okay? And the government always collects. And so if a lot of it is loans, then it's going to mean that it's not going to be necessarily inflationary. And you think, well, they're putting $2 trillion out on the street, right? That's 10% of GDP or thereabouts, or 8% of GDP or whatever. Yeah, they are. They're putting that money out on the street, but it comes back, okay? It's with backsies. And so therefore, the inflationary impact is not going to be so great. At the end of the day, most of this money is eventually going to trickle down to the workers. I mean, the previous stuff that I mentioned goes straight to workers who are unemployed. A lot of this is to airlines to keep the lights on and for them not to go bankrupt, right? And state monies also for services that are going on. 100 billion for hospitals. You know, it's going to be for this shit that's coming down. So the inflationary impact, it's going to be very negligible. And remember the oil prices that are collapsing they're at fucking $21 a barrel. Holy cow, that is just extraordinary. And there's it looks like it's going to keep on falling. I mean, you could almost say that it's going to be like, negative price for oil. That's how hard it's falling. Of course, that could never happen, but we're getting there. It's incredible. Okay. And so all this is to say that even though they're throwing a lot of money on the street, the idea that it will be inflationary, it remains to be seen, because it's not clear where this inflation would pop out. And what is very clear is that a lot of businesses, they have no customers, there's no demand, and therefore they are willing to lower their prices. On something as idiotic as Instagram, I'm kind of like addicted to that stupid app. I flip through it, and I get a lot of offers for watches for some reason. I have no fucking idea why, because I don't wear a watch, but for some reason I get a lot of ads for watches, right? And I check up on them, and they're all offering like 20% discount, 30% discount. Yeah, I forget about free shipping. That's, of course, all kinds of goodies that they're throwing my way. Yeah, and that's going to be, and that's just on Instagram. That was just something that I was casually looking at. Every business is going to start slashing prices. That's deflation. Yeah, they are lowering the price of their goods or services, and therefore the money you have, the dollar you have today, it will buy more tomorrow. Okay, so this is deflationary at this time. At this time, I must insist. Okay, oh well, here's the question that I had. Is it deflation or hyperinflation? It looks like it's deflation at this time. If these assholes start doing crazy ass shit, then ask me in a month when they start doing crazy shit, right? But yeah, so okay, that's basically my presentation for this week. And let me go real quick. I have a written question. I'm going to check it out real quick. I'll ask Daryl himself. Daryl, let me find you. Daryl, are you there? Let me unmute you. And I saw your question. And Daryl, you there? Oh, I guess he can't talk on his microphone. That's why he wrote the question. Very clever, Daryl. I'll read it to you all. It says, good afternoon, CRP. I'll start off with, I wish you and your family well. Thank you very much, Daryl. That's much appreciated. Now, I work as a delivery grocery driver, and business is booming. Overtime up the yin yang. Oh, overtime up the yin yang. I also have a part-time where we are still working as well. I am making a lot of money. My question is, will me making all this money even matter since we are getting free money? It's a good question. The free money that people are getting, they're going to blow through it real quick, and they're going to focus it on food, which I think is not going to rise in price, because I think that the government is going to go out of its way to ensure the food supply and make sure that people don't gouge captive consumers. So people are going to spend it on food, and people are going to spend it on online shit that they can deliver. I mean, toys and crap like this, stuff to entertain them. So I actually don't think it's going to be that inflationary. I think that the big items like real estate, shit like that is going to keep on falling in price. Yeah. So again, this is a tricky shit, and I wish there's like a simple answer to it, but it's sort of like you got to see how it goes day by day. So anyway, I'm going to lower all your hands. Anybody who has a question, I'd much prefer to hear from you as opposed to read a question. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Okay, let me get to Konstantin Mihai. Hey, Konstantin, how's it going?
Hello. I'm good, thank you.
Could you speak up, please?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
Yeah, I just watched all your presentation, and to be honest, I'm an engineer, and I didn't really understand all the economic stuff, and I'm not up to date to all the economics. But just as a side question, let's say, maybe because there are lots of people which maybe they are the same as me, they don't really understand all the economics figures and the graphs. So again, as a side question, do you think United States and maybe Trump, after all these things, will be like a big problem? Like, do you think United States will see like China escape or maybe they put the virus into the world and everybody fucked up with this, but China seems to be okay. Do you think China and the rest of the world will be okay, or how do you see this after all this? I know it's a side question, it's not what exactly you presented.
Wait, so let me understand. You're asking, how will the US respond to China over all this?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I can see that, let's say, China had this virus, they managed to sort everything, they closed the border somehow, and the rest of the world is dealing with this and we have a big problem. But China seems to be fine, and China doesn't seem to be look affected. This makes sense.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. No,
It's a side question. Sorry.
yeah, that's not accurate. Okay, let's face this question. Thanks for your question, Konstantin. Okay, China is in big trouble. Okay, everybody knows that they're lying their asses off, and it just leaked that the some British expert for the government gave some confidential report to the British Prime Minister, who has it, by the way. Boris Johnson is in quarantine, but anyway, the report says that they figured that the Chinese were underreporting by either 15 to 40 times what the actual figure is. Okay, so basically they say that, if the Chinese say that it was 1, the true number was either between 15 and 40. Okay, the Western governments know that the Chinese are lying their asses off. The other day, the Chinese said that they didn't have any cases, for crying out loud, and people on the ground were saying, well, look at all those people lining up to go to the hospital. Okay, so no, the Chinese are lying their asses off. The really interesting question is, when this all blows over, when the dust settles, what is going to be the repercussions to China? I think that they are really fucking scared, and I think that they're going to get. I think a lot of people are going to really want to get their pound of flesh from them for having not warned the world of what was going on. And by the way, something interesting. This is hot off the presses. Just before this thing, I found out on Twitter, and I reposted it on my Twitter feed. It's Real Gonzalo Lira. That the Chinese military university, they went on lockdown on the 2nd of January. Okay. Now, why is this significant? The Chinese university is in Wuhan, or this particular Chinese military university was in Wuhan, excuse me. And they went on lockdown on the 2nd of January. And they told the rest of the people on the 18th of January to go on lockdown. Okay. Now, on the one hand, it's pretty despicable that you have your people go on lockdown and don't tell the civilians for 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks. That's pretty despicable on the one hand. But on the other hand, on the 2nd of January, you have very few cases. Why is the military freaking out and having all of its soldiers go on lockdown in this military university? Because they know what it is. That would be the only explanation. Because if it's some random disease, are they going to disrupt their best students' routine and whatnot? Of course not. They would only put them on lockdown if they knew what it was. If they know what it was, then it's man-made. You see? Yeah. It gets the noggin jogging. Hey, Bill Semet, how's it going? Let me unmute you. What's up? Hello, Bill, you there? Bill's sleeping. Bill. Oh, his microphone, I guess, is out of whack. I'll catch you in a bit, Bill. I'll go and ask somebody else to say hi. Chris O, how's it going, Chris? Hello, you there?
Yes, I am.
How's it going?
It's going very well. Greetings from Toronto. 2 quick questions, if I may. The first one is quite simple. In the modeling of the death rates and spread rates, we're assuming that the health system works at 100% efficiency. I mean, how do we factor in the attrition rate among the personnel who are getting sick themselves, getting tired, or not even coming to work? So that should have an impact on the estimations.
Yes.
And the second question is, I mean, as a long-time fan, I've been following your feed regarding gender relations. And whatever has been happening in the last few years, feminism has had a negative impact on that.
Yes.
Given your mention at the beginning of the presentation about the higher unemployment in retail and higher level skills, which are being dominated by women, plus education, how will this negative trend in unemployment impact the gender relations? And this kind of relates to one of your most famous videos, the the men are tired.
Yeah. Thanks very much for bringing that up. Okay, on the first question of attrition of medical personnel, I could not give you an intelligent opinion about that. I would simply not know. And I would urge you to look that up on Google and speak to or hear the words of somebody more knowledgeable than myself. I just cannot know. My thinking is the things that I've been doing and sort of like trying to figure out, get ahead of this and try to figure out how the numbers of this have just been basic extrapolations. Like going into that kind of fine tuning of how this will impact the medical personnel and how they start to get sick and they unfortunately start to die, which they are, how that will deteriorate the medical service and in turn lead to more deaths of the people. I don't know. I cannot answer that, but it seems prima facie obvious that if medical personnel start to die from this disease, then it'll impact the ability to care for others, non-doctor patients. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, that I don't know. On this issue, the second question you have, the impact of this on the man-woman relationship, I am already starting to see it. Women are becoming a lot less of this, you go girl, strong, independent woman shit, and a lot more like, lovey-dovey and trying to find a good man to take care of them. Yeah, and that's really fucking funny. It's just extremely funny, but well, quite natural. If a woman feels threatened by her environment, then she will naturally want a man around to take care of her. That's how it's always been. And so what I've also noticed is that a lot of people are losing patience with feminism and the whole woke culture shit, and people are like just piped down already. People are losing patience with it. This is, of course, I'm seeing it online, right? It'll take a while for that kind of vibe to seep in through the populace in the real world. But to think that it won't have that impact, oh no, of course it will. It'll have that impact, and it'll be a big impact. And will feminism go away because of this? I don't know. I don't think so. But it will be a serious blow to their self-confidence, to their willingness to sort of like override other people and act like little spoiled brats. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, because when the shit gets heavy, you don't have the time or the interest to deal with a spoiled brat, and you tell that spoiled brat to shut up.
So how do you recommend that we, your fan base, who has, as you say, is predominantly male and has had negative experiences of the last few years with that growing feminism, whether it's discrimination at work, sexual harassment, divorce, rape, how do you, coach, recommend that we react to this once these women, once these SJWs and all that start to come around to us? Should we engage them, or should we say up yours? Remember how you became.
No, you can stop being not you specifically, of course. I mean, we should stop putting them on pedestals and be like all afraid. And we should recognize that they're coming to us because they need us. They're realizing that they need us. They need us, boring but very dependable men who can take care of them and make sure that their lives are easy. Okay.
But why should we help them? I mean, if this virus hasn't appeared, we will be, just like before, even worse. I mean, this was a downward trajectory for man and all that. So now this godsend virus changes the economy as well as gender relations, and we're supposed to just, take them back and say, oh, it's all okay.
Oh no, I'm not saying take them back like oh, it's status quo ante. No, take your pound of flesh. Oh yeah, definitely.
How do we do that? That's my request for recommendation.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing you off, but I have to think about it because how to maximize the advantage that situations have given us, right? Well, the first thing is to recognize that you are suddenly in an advantageous position.
Exactly.
And you have to recognize that. And once you know that, it automatically gives you a different outlook and a different mentality, a different approach. Okay.
Please do think about it. I mean, as a long-term fan, I assume I'm not the only one who's recognizing the dramatic change in dynamics, and this is to our advantage. So how do we go from now? Because Speaking for myself, I'm not about to go and just open the door,
because
welcome
you want to
someone
know
in and help everybody out. I mean, this is not exactly payback, but God, just imagine how it would be without the virus. It would not get any better anytime soon. So now that
No.
things are to
Yeah.
advantage, what do we do now?
Yeah, you're talking about the practical steps that you can actually apply, not like theoretical shit. Yeah, I understand
Let's start
completely.
with theory. How does this change the theory of feminism and gender relations, and what do we do in practice?
Well, in theory, okay, it makes a mockery of them, okay, because it basically says, look, when the shit gets heavy, you can't make it on your own. You are not a strong, independent woman. That's what it's basically saying. Of course, they're never going to admit to that, but their actions are all the admission that you're going to need. Okay, the only admission you're going to get, but the only admission that you're going to need, because they're going to focus more on guys who have their shit together. It's as simple as that, you know. But let me give it more thought, because it's a really good question, and
Thank you.
I'll probably do a video about it. So thanks so much, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Let me scoot down. Eric first. Eric, how's it going? Hello, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. You hear
Hey,
me?
Eric, how's it going?
I'm fine. I'm fine. And it's a tricky situation, but let's see what happens.
Yeah. By the way, did you have any trouble like hopping on this this platform on the software?
No, right now I had the beginning some problems, but I figured it out, so no problem yet.
Great, fantastic. And the sound's been good, and the image okay?
Yeah, it's a little bit small sometimes, but it's pretty decent. Yeah, the
Oh,
sound is
on
decent.
your
So
phone or computer?
yeah, right now on the phone. But I've
Wow.
seen everything, so for me it's clear what you explained. So I haven't
Okay.
any problems.
Yeah. Okay.
So my question is, when this crisis is over, what will happen to the economy or overall? My three suggestion is, first, the economy will collapse, maybe or probably the biggest collapse we ever witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I think that they will erase the cash. And the third thing, because of this virus, they want that we may that this obligation to what's the English word for this? Let's check it. Machination, is that right?
Yeah, machination. Yeah.
Yeah, to obligate the vaccination. It's obligation to vaccinate.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Okay. But the other two questions, they're clear?
Yeah. You're asking what's going to happen after. That's basically your.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Go ahead. What's going to happen after? Yeah.
So my suggestion is what will happen after this virus. First, the biggest economic crash ever.
Yes.
The second thing, they will erase the cash.
Erase
So
cash.
just erase the cash, just digital. Everything is then digital.
Okay. Okay.
And the third thing that you don't understand, it's a little bit difficult to translate in English. Yeah, let's just stay with these two.
Okay. My thinking is that, see, what's going to happen after this coronavirus, you have to first define when's it going to end, okay? Now, I did in a previous video, a previous stream, the one I did on Wednesday, I believe, yes. I thought that this coronavirus is going to peak in May, June, and it would be over by the 1st of September. For those of you who didn't make it to that one, my thinking was that by the numbers that we currently have, it would sort of like reach a tipping point and around like the 1st of May. And since this takes roughly 30 days to pass to resolve in any patient, either they get cured or they die, yeah, you could figure that if the bulk of people are going to get it between the 1st of May and the 30th of May, then they'll be cured between the 1st of June and the 30th of June, which is 30 days later, another couple of months to recover. And so let's say the 1st of September, this is over. What will happen there is that there will be a huge boom in the economy. It will take off like a rocket. Yes, a boom. Okay. Yeah, because see, of course, it's going to be shitty. I mean, our economy is going to continue to go down, down, down. And like I said before, when the bodies start piling up, people are really going to freak out. Okay, they're going to freak out because they're going to start to know people who died, either their personal family members or their friends, or a family member of a friend that they know intimately, that they might have met in person. Okay, and that will automatically make this very, very serious to just about everybody. And especially something else. Our population has never had it so easy. The generations that are currently alive have never experienced war. I'm talking about the people in the Western democracies. They have never experienced war. They've never experienced want. They've always had whatever the fuck they wanted. They can say whatever absurdity they want, no matter how stupid, and everybody's like, yes, that's fine. I mean, basically, they're spoiled children. And what happens when spoiled children all of a sudden lose all of their privileges? All of a sudden, they're worried about food. They're worried about, what's going to happen tomorrow. They freak out. They freak out. Okay. And so there's going to be a huge freak out of people in May, June, July, as this starts to really bite. You know what I'm saying? Once this is sort of like over, that panic and that anxiety and all that, it will naturally express itself in a desire to work as hard as possible and save as much as possible, and I think that there will be a boom, a very, very big boom after this is over. Okay, so I don't think I do not think that there's going to be like doom and gloom and that we're all going to die and it's going to be awful. No, on the contrary, I think that there are going to be incredible opportunities and people are going to be hungry to work, because they'll be so bored on the one hand and also so terrified. And you feel useful, you feel in control when you are working. When you're just sitting around on your ass waiting to catch some disease that might kill you, it causes panic, it causes desperation. We're going to see a lot more suicides, by the way. You guys heard about that dumb girl out in England who was like 19 and she couldn't take being a week?
I heard that first they said it was the coronavirus, and after that, after some days or hours or whatever, they told it was suicide. So they try to make everybody's scared because of this virus, but I think you have to be rational.
Oh, I agree with you, but people aren't all rational. I mean, some are, but most aren't. So
yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to do here is we are rational, and so we have to be thinking. And think about what I'm saying. If we go through a summer of panic, okay, and then come September 1st, things start to perk up again. What's the natural reaction of people going to be? They're going to be eager to work. They're going to be eager to work. They're going to be eager to return to normal. Also, keep in mind that this, if it ends like around the 1st of September, as I think it will, well, what will happen is that people will feel that it will not have been that long. Okay, this crisis, it will have been 6 months or so. And so they will say, we have to get back to normal. And they will put these 6 months as abnormality. And the previous question was, Chris asked how this will affect our relations with women. And
I heard it.
And actually, now thinking about it now, if this period of abnormality is just 6 months, it might not actually impact our relations with women that much. The women might not have learned much of a lesson. You see what I'm saying?
Totally.
I mean, now thinking about it out loud, if this ends in September, everybody's gonna be like, oh, it was just an abnormal period, it doesn't count, let's ignore it. And any lessons learned during that period will be ignored as well. But by that same token, the energy that people will put into work and wanting everything to go back to normal and spending again and gearing up the economy, it'll just be status quo ante, but bigger, more vibrant, because people will be appreciative of what they have, because for 6 months they will not have had it. See, so that's my thinking of what's going to be after. Now, going to all electronic money, all digital money, not cryptocurrency. You guys know that I think it's full of shit, crypto. But doing everything like with cards, right? It's more convenient, but there are good reasons to have cash around. Okay.
Yeah, I
This,
always feel cash because
yeah.
without
The
any
Swedes
cash,
discovered it.
some people can control you, but I'm not really a big fan of just everything digital.
Yeah. Oh,
Cash
one of
is
the
for
things
me freedom.
yes, yes. Having cash is freedom. Okay. And so, yeah, but also in a practical sense, it's very useful to have cash. That's what Sweden has discovered. And
Yeah,
so going all digital is not the panacea. And so what'll probably happen is I wouldn't worry about that. That part, that I'm not too concerned about. What I am concerned about is that with a lot of the measures that they're going to be taking during this time to curtail civil liberties, you know, they're going to be tracking your phone so they can figure out how the disease spreads and that kind of stuff.
yeah, I
The
heard that
possibility,
shit. Yeah.
yeah, the possibility of them misusing this
Mhm.
and using it to repress people, yeah, that's pretty high, now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of my fears I have
yeah,
about this crisis.
yeah.
But
If
I
this,
think, like you said, I think it's a great chance because you can right now it's almost a complete shutdown,
yeah,
and right now the people they have time to think about the situation, think about themselves, think about their situation. I'm satisfied. If as a I am satisfied or not, or is this the right path? What I'm doing, etc., etc., etc. I think it's the right time to think about the situation, the politics, and so on and so on. What goes wrong with feminism or other things?
yeah,
I think there's a big chance, and after the crisis ends, let's say, like you said, in September, I think the people are eager to do something new, something special, and that's my hope. Let's say.
that's my hope too, quite frankly. Eric, thank you so much. By the way, where are you at?
Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland. I was just there, as a matter of fact. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
country.
I wrote you that you were in Zermatt, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you wrote something in YouTube that you're there for a chat. And I wrote to you if you could come to Zurich, but you wrote me
No,
that's
I
not
couldn't.
possible.
Yeah, because we went through Geneva. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly,
uh,
exactly.
yeah. But no, but next time, because like I try to go every year. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
let's see.
wonderful, wonderful country.
Thanks
Eric,
for
great
your comments
talking.
and have a nice day.
You too. Stick around. Let me see. Who else is up for a question or wants to make a comment about anything? Uh, oh, Kate Winslet. Okay, Kate. I'm flattered to be talking to a Oscar winner. Hello, Kate. Hello, Kate. You there? Oh, Kate has to fix her microphone.
Oh,
She's got to get her
hey,
people.
Coach.
Oh,
Hey,
Kate, there you are.
yeah, sorry, I had it on mute. I
That's okay.
realized, like, yeah, how are you doing? How are things over there in Amsterdam?
I'm bored out of my mind.
Yeah, same here. Things
Yeah,
are
where are
very,
you at?
I'm currently in Chicago right now.
Oh, and how's it going there?
Same. I mean, lockdowns, stay at home, pretty much.
How's the
Uh,
crime rate?
uh, f- um, I mean, I guess it's pretty, we've been seeing a lot of, I've been hearing like a lot of like robberies, thefts, and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
the usual stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, what's going on
oh,
is that I hear that a lot of people are like, what you call it, taking advantage of the situation, and they know that the cops are not going to bother with small crimes, and so they're
yeah,
like, you know,
yeah.
taking
There's
advantage of the
definitely,
situation. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
there's definitely a lot of that too.
yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of people that don't care. But definitely, what do you think about like the U.S. being the epicenter of this of this thing now?
I don't think it's at the epicenter. I think that there's two things that are going on simultaneously. Number one, the United States has a very large population, and
Hmm.
number two, they are testing everybody. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I think
so
there's
when you
that.
have like a lot of people who are getting tested, naturally you're going to have a lot of people who are infected. Okay,
Hmm.
I would be worried about. Look, the places where this is going to be fucking horrible are countries like India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. people where people live in tight communities and where disease can spread like wildfire. I'm also thinking of prisons everywhere and also refugee camps. Those people are going to get it bad, real bad.
Yeah.
Already there's some stories coming out of Rikers Island in New York that are pretty horrifying, right? And so,
Yeah.
things are going to go bad in those crowded places. But just because right now the United States is like leading the world in cases, it doesn't mean that it's affecting the United States more than anybody else. It's that it's just more people are being tested. Okay?
There's a lot more testing going on.
Yeah, and also if you add up all the people in Europe, Europe has roughly the same population as the U.S. I mean, a little bit more, but close enough. You add up all the cases that are going on in Europe, and they have twice as many, 3 times as many. Well, no, not
Yeah,
3 times.
the population here is huge too, and so I mean, there's definitely that too. And like you said too, like I guess the nations that are gonna be like more I guess impacted by this are like the developing nations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but it's funny how like because I just hearing you mention like the $1 trillion I guess coronavirus relief bill. It's funny seeing like how the Democrats kind of like were a lot of them, how like Pelosi especially, how she was kind of like a lot of them were kind of blocking this. A lot of the things that they included in the bill. I don't know if you
Yeah,
you
they
you
blocked it, and I think it's going to bite them in the ass come November. Yeah,
yeah
I think that people aren't going to forget.
yeah well
Hey, and
well,
by the way,
yeah.
what's your real name? I hope it's not Kate Winslet.
No, it's not Kate Winslet. No, just I thought I'd throw it in there. Um, no, it's Robert.
Hey, Robert, it's great to talk to you, man. Thanks so much for
It's good
showing
talking.
up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good talking to you, Coach.
take it easy.
Yeah, yeah.
You good? Okay. Let me get
Yeah.
Malcolm Trimnell. Malcolm, how's it going? You there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, Malcolm, how's it going?
Good, going good.
Yeah, I saw your question here. I'll read it for people. Or you read it. You wrote it.
Oh yeah, sure, why not? Well, I'm not like big on economics. I don't know too much. But I was just curious, if Putin keeps on pumping oil, the price keeps going down, and the government stimulus package kind of weakens the US government for a while. Won't the US government kind of go bankrupt at some point?
Yeah, that's the worry. Okay, that's the big worry. Now, look, it's perfectly fine if you don't know something. Okay, so there's no shame in not knowing stuff. It's impossible to know everything. So the way the U.S. government funds itself is that it issues treasury bonds, treasury bonds. Bonds are basically IOUs. They're little slips of paper, and they promise that at a certain time in the future, that this IOU will be paid. Okay, and like think about you need $100, and you go to your buddy and you say, hey, give me $100, and here I'll slip you this piece of paper. It says IOU on it, and I owe you this $100, and I'll pay you in, I don't know, 10 years, and I'll pay you $110 when I pay it up to you. Okay, that's what a bond is. And a treasury bond, well, it's a bond because different entities emit bonds. Companies do it, different agencies in the federal government, whatnot. But when the Treasury does it, it's called a treasury bond. And the Treasury emits bonds and uses the money that it brings in order to pay for these packages, right? So what's going on is that, see, the Federal Reserve issues the currency, yeah? Now, how do they issue the currency? Well, they just say X amount of dollars exist, and they exist, okay? The computers in the Treasury, in the Federal Reserve, they basically can manufacture money out of thin air, okay? It's like, imagine you're at a bank, you have a bank account, right? And you go there in the morning, it says 0, right? And you say, man, how much money do I need for my expenses today? Oh, I need $500, and you just type in 500, and presto, it's right there, 500 on your account. That's how they do it. I'm not kidding. It's as simple as that. So the Federal Reserve can purchase those bonds, okay, those treasury bonds.
Now, of course, they don't do it directly, because if they did that directly, it would freak everybody out, because that's called monetizing the debt, okay? And that's the surest path to the collapse of a currency. So the American system is very clever. They use the commercial banks. Banks go out and buy treasury bonds, and they take in those treasury bonds, but then they turn around and they put these treasury bonds as collateral with the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve gives them cash. And with the cash, they go out and do different shit. And so you see how the commercial banks are basically the middlemen, you see? And that's how basically the Federal Reserve has been monetizing the American government debt for like a long time. And they do it in little enough increments that it actually doesn't have a totally detrimental effect on the economy. But like myself and a lot of other people have been thinking that if they were to do this on a big scale because of an emergency, like the coronavirus thing, then the whole thing could go tits up and it could get real fucking nasty, okay? And that's the concern. That's the concern. And that's why, you know, I have there on the screen, it says deflation or hyperinflation. You know, inflation one way, deflation the other. It's that concern that these guys in Washington will get all desperate. They'll get all desperate and they'll start printing money, you know, and they'll do these stupid ass $6-10 trillion programs or whatever. One guy was saying, and he had a point. He said, well, if we could just do it for 2 trillion, how come we don't do it for 350 trillion and just give everybody $1 million? And he had a point. He had a really good point, okay? Because essentially, I mean, of course, if you were to do that, if everybody had $1 million, then the dollar would be worthless, right? But essentially, that's what you're doing. You're manufacturing money, okay? Now, of course, people can argue that it's an issue of degree. If you print up $350 trillion, of course, it's going to hyperinflate and be worthless, right? But if you do just 2 trillion or 6 trillion, it's not that bad. It's not that big of a shock. Okay, sure, but you know, when is it going to be enough is enough? Because what happens if this round is not enough? This $2 trillion stimulus package is not enough. Are they going to go for another one? And are they going to go for another one after that? And another one, and finally it's going to all collapse like a house of cards, you see?
Yeah.
That's the concern. Okay. So you had a second question. What was it?
Yeah. So when do you see this whole market bottoming out? Like when, if I'm gonna buy?
Oh, yeah, I would not know. I would not know. And I personally, I cannot tell you what to do because I am not an investment advisor.
Yeah.
But I personally would fucking never get into the stock market at this point. Not even to sell something short. Because like I explained earlier, that there was that dead cat bounce because of short sellers, the short squeeze. Yeah, look, right now, the smart money is not in the stock market or the bond market. The smart money is in cash and just waiting to see, okay? Because it's too unpredictable, okay? It's too unpredictable, too many variables. And who knows the whole market is panicking. People are panicking, they're freaking the fuck out. Who knows what will happen, okay? And remember, see, when you go into the stock market, the bond market, any market whatsoever, there is always an element of risk. Sometimes that risk is very, very low. I mean, imagine 6 months ago, everything was hunky-dory, you know, everything was moving along. So investing in stocks, there was an element of risk, but it was a very, very small amount of risk. If you were to like arbitrarily measure it, you could say, oh, it's like a 1% risk that I'll lose all my money. Nothing, or even less than 1%. But now you never know. The risk has gone up. It's too high. So when you're in a high risk environment, what do? You keep walking around to see if you get your head blown off? No, you sit it out. You wait it out. You see what I'm saying? You don't get greedy. Because see, a lot of guys, they get into the stock market when they think that it's bottomed out. Of course, nobody knows when a market bottoms out. You only realize it retrospectively. At the time that it's happening, nobody has a clue, okay? Because it's just going up and down as usual, you know, because it's always going up and down. See, it's only like 6 months, a year later that you say, oh, that was the month when it bottomed out, okay? At the time that it bottomed out, nobody noticed, okay? Because it's an issue of time, okay? So the point is, see, a lot of guys figure that they can buy into the market at the bottom. They think that they're clever enough to do this. Nobody is that clever to pick the exact moment to buy at the bottom of the market. No one, not even the best investor in the world, the best investor in history, no one. Joe Kennedy, the father of John Kennedy, Joe Kennedy Sr. was a brilliant investor, one of the best stock pickers ever. And he said, only a fool waits for top dollar. Okay. Which of course you can reverse that and say, you know, only a fool waits for the bottom of the market. You don't know when it's going to be. So don't bother with that. Okay. What happens is that greedy people get involved in the stock market thinking it's the bottom of the market because they want to get every last little nickel. Okay. Don't be greedy. When the market starts to go up substantially and just like at a, you know, it's going on like a little bit every day for a couple of weeks, then you know that, you know, things are perking up. But in this environment, fuck no, just get out of everything, stay in cash. But that's me. I'm not advising you or telling you what to do. That's what I would do. Okay, well, that's what I am doing, as a matter of fact. That help you out?
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. Thanks for your channel too.
Hey, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for your support. If I haven't said this enough to you guys, I still thank you because like you guys are like throwing me $5 or $10 a month, right? And to me, it's not so much that you guys are you know, throwing money my way. It's the fact that you think highly enough of what I'm doing that you think it's worth paying money for. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And I thank you so much. I really and truly do. I hope that you all know that. So yeah, so thank you, Malcolm.
You're welcome, man.
Okay, take it easy. Talk to you soon. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Blue. Hey. How's it going, Mr. Blue? You there?
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing better. I'm doing better. So,
Were you sick?
no, yeah, I was fighting something. My wife was in the hospital, and she's back. She had her first round of the infusion, so we got 3 more to go. But so far,
tell me, 3 rounds of infusion of what?
well, so she has a autoimmune disease. We were talking last week.
Yes, you told me.
Yeah, so she has an autoimmune disease, and so so she goes in for this Rituxan treatment, which is helping her. And it's kind of tricky right now because you go to the hospital and you get this treatment to calm down your overactive immune system, and so we're just you know, trying to navigate that. So now it's just me and my son. I have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. So I just take the 13-year-old and go grocery shopping, and we don't bring the, you know, I don't have my wife come out anymore, and helping my parents and yeah, and all that.
Yeah. Now how are you holding up?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, because it can get rough. I mean, you know, you're with the kids and your parents, and your wife is not 100%. It can get real rough on you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, my parents don't live with me. They live 10 minutes away. But hey, man, like you said in your videos, right? The thing that sets men apart from all other, you know, things in the world is our ability to control our emotion.
Yeah. And it's rough. It's rough, especially when you know, like you're in a situation like this, because like it's quite natural to be afraid and to be really like start to panic over this. It's perfectly normal and natural. The thing that, and I'm not telling you this to you only, Mr. Blue, but rather to everybody listening, that the important thing is to understand that you can be scared and real scared, but that when it's a moment to make decisions and to like step up, you have to set those emotions aside. And sometimes it's very difficult, but you should take the time to make sure that you've set those emotions aside before making any decision or making any decision that might be that might change your life. Because the worst decisions are made in haste, in impatience, emotional, you know, not thinking the things through. I mean, that's certainly been my case. I mean, I look back on every bad decision that I've made, and it was always because I was a little bit panicking, a little bit freaked out, and I just said, okay, I'll do this. And then later I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, you know? I don't know about you. Has that happened to you too?
I'm pretty analytical. I kind of sit down and I, you know, make these charts and try to figure everything out. But sometimes you just kind of have to go with your gut on things.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, but that's different because see, when you and I admire that ability to just sit down and break the problem down on paper. You do that, and sometimes you break it down on paper, and either decision seems on paper at least to be equally good, and so then you go on gut. That no problem. It's when you don't do that analysis, when you don't sit down and break it down on paper. That's when you screw
Yes.
up.
Yes. You then then you can get into some bad situations. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's on your mind today, man?
All right, so a couple of questions. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in China, when they were going to put Wuhan in quarantine, if I remember, they announced it, I think a day or so earlier, or a couple hours earlier, and then 5 million people left.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Trump was going to, potentially announce a quarantine for New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. And I was thinking in the back of my mind, why do governments and politicians announce this before?
Yeah, I
It doesn't
agree.
make sense.
Yeah,
So
it
that's my,
doesn't.
yeah. So that's my first question. My second question is, I still have, some positions in the market, and I know you're not a financial advisor, and I don't want to, ask you those questions, but just from my point of view, if I believe the projections and that shit's going to hit the fan, there is a greater than 50% chance that the market's going to go lower than higher. Would you agree with? And I guess would you agree with that? And that was my second question.
Yeah, to answer your second question, well, the first one, yeah, the politicians going around saying, oh, I think we might, lock down some city. What do you all think? And we'll make a decision in like a day or two. That's basically telling, everybody get out of Dodge. That's what you're saying, I mean, come on, how stupid do you get? I don't understand that mentality. It's
Is
like
it so the wealthy? Is it so that the wealthy can get out
no,
because they have
no, I
more
think it's just
options?
incompetence. Just incompetence. That's my thinking. The Chinese and Trump on this particular issue. Yeah, because that kind of decision, you might contemplate it very quietly and privately with your top advisors or experts or whatnot. But then when you make the decision, you just deliver it like a fait accompli, right? You just hit it, and you don't give time to people to run away, because that's the whole point. Because if they start running away,
Yeah.
they're going to spread the shit all over the place, right? That's the whole point of locking down a city, right? So I don't understand. I think it's incompetence, quite frankly. No, and also you're thinking, well, maybe it's a way to signal to his friends. Well, why don't you just call up his friends? Just call them up and say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to do this. Then they'll get the message. They'll get the
Because
picture.
that could backfire. That could backfire specifically that you made these calls on this, cell phone number and.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, there are lots of ways that you can get the word out without even, getting your fingers dirty. I think it was just incompetence. As simple as that. So yeah. But anyway, going back to the stock market question. Look, dead cat bounce, which is what we're at. It's starting to go down, right? It's going to keep on going down. Let me pull up that chart here real quick. Here we are, right? And I'm. You guys seeing this? You guys seeing this?
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Great. Okay, so look at this shit, right? Look at this. It perked back up. Okay, heroic measures by the Fed, by everybody, right? Stimulus and all that. It dead cat bounce, and it was a short squeeze. That's the word I'm getting. That it was all short squeeze. That people had positions they had to cover, because they went into the shorts too late, and it started perking back up, and then all of a sudden it just squeezed and melted up, but not because it's inherently valuable. And the last day of the market, it started going down, right? It was down 4%. I think it's going to keep on going down. Yeah, I just keep on going down, You see that early, like little, that double peak in early May, it from the peak, right, from the top of the market, it slid down and then perked back up. It had a double peak and then kept on going down. Yeah, I think that's basically the same thing, but on a bigger scale here. This is a dead cat bounce. That's my perspective. Okay, you got to think to yourself, what is the point of stock valuation? A stock is the measure of the profitability of a company, a reflection of the profitability of a company. If a company doesn't have any sales, it's not going to have any profits. Are companies having sales now? No, they are not. Why? Because everybody's at home, essentially in prison, right? So
Yeah.
unless you're Netflix or somebody who's actually gaining money and viewers and income from this situation, which is a vanishingly small minority of companies, all the other companies are up shit's creek. They're going to keep on going down.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
the fact that it popped up in dead cat bounce. I mean, we've seen this so many times before. We've never seen it so big. Okay, that's the issue. Because from the very nadir, it popped back up. What, like 15%? Holy shit! Right? That's a monster pop. We've never seen a dead cat
in
bounce.
history.
No, yeah, of course, but it's the same thing. It's just bigger. Okay, that's my perspective. Okay, so that's why I'm just being a little pussy and just having all my money in cash and not investing in fucking anything because this market terrifies me and I can't predict it. It's way outside my level of expertise, and my level of expertise. This is way beyond the level of expertise of anybody. Nobody's seen this shit before, but this kind of dead cat bounce, we've all seen it before. So yeah, that's my thinking.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I think at some point buying long-term or at least call options on SPY expiring in December might make sense. Out of the money call options.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Okay.
Well, if we assume the projections are correct, and we all have to decide that for ourselves, and that things are going to get better in September, and there's going to be a boom. Right now would be a really good time to go bargain hunting for those.
Well,
call
wouldn't it be smarter to wait a little longer?
Yeah.
Like the idea I have, right, is that we're really going to see the nadir of this pandemic in May, June, right? Then obviously the stock markets are going to follow suit. I mean, they're going to head lower. They're going to head south all of April and quite a bit of May and maybe into June keep on falling. So the options that you're thinking of getting out of the money for December, they're going to be a hell of a lot cheaper then than now. And it could be that what you consider, out of the money in the future is going to be so out of the money because they continue to fall that you wouldn't make any profit. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. And this may be, and and see if most of your, if a good portion of your listeners kind of understand what's going on, a lot of millionaires are created in times like this.
Yes, yes, yes. That's absolutely right. And that's something that, Baron, I've said this before, and if I'm repeating myself, sorry, but Baron de Rothschild said, buy when there's blood on the streets. We haven't seen blood on the streets, not yet. We're seeing panic, but not blood on the streets. Okay. So now I personally do not think it's time to buy. I think we have to wait a couple of months. That's my personal opinion. Okay. And I could be very wrong, but when I was younger, I had this habit of over anticipating the market. And the market would often do what I thought it was going to do, but not in the time frame that I thought it was going to do. I thought that everybody was going to be as fast as I was, that they'd realize what's going on. And it didn't happen that way. What they would realize what was going on, what I realized today, they would realize 2 months later. I remember very clearly having a conversation in the year 2000 with my mother, of all people, about the real estate market in New York. And I said that it was overvalued, it was a bubble, it was impossible, this shit is gonna blow up. And it did blow up in 2008. Yeah, so, and the thing is, see, if I'd been smart at that time, I could have gotten into properties in New York. I was offered this two-bedroom apartment in Alphabet City in Lower Manhattan, yeah, which is a nice enough neighborhood, and I was offered it for $168,000 in 2000, and I turned it down. And now, of course, I'm kicking myself because that goddamn apartment, even now, I could probably sell it for over $1 million, And so, yeah, you have to guard against being faster than the market, yeah, because you're smart enough to see what's going to happen, and so you think that everybody else is too, that they're all smart enough, but that's not the case. Okay.
Yeah. We bought a townhome here in San Jose in 2013.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I mean, nobody would dance with us. We would go above the asking price, and no one would. I mean, we would have buyers come in with all cash, and when we purchased it for 500, and the only way I got it is I told the listing agent, after failing several times and learning the process, I told the listing agent to represent us as well, and that's the only reason we got in, because they'd only found out that we weren't the highest. And I had to get clever like that. And the goal was to eventually sell or rent this townhome out and buy a single family home. But the prices have gone up so incredibly here that it just, the quality of life and how much extra we would have to, work and eat ramen soup is crazy. But maybe in a few years, maybe the real estate market here will soften. I don't know.
It
What do you
probably
think?
will. And my thinking is that all real estate markets will soften. Okay. And the thing is, see, also, I am hoping that there's going to be a boom in like the last quarter of this year, and once this all is behind us, right? Or perhaps the first quarter of 2021. But my concern is that there might be a boom, but people will be a lot more cautious and not be willing to take a chance, and therefore not be willing to buy big ticket items. Okay, that's my concern.
Yes,
But like I said, we're in
I
early
agree.
days. We're in early days of this thing. Okay, the thing we have to do is be patient, because I am very aware of what you said, that great fortunes can be made in times like these. It's absolutely true, and it goes for everybody here. And you might think to yourself, oh, I don't have much money. Maybe you're a student or you just have a very little cash on hand. You should be surprised. You'd be really goddamn surprised. Even if you think that you don't have a lot of cash or a lot of means to make some move, if you keep your eyes open and try to find every possibility and understand the shape of the times that we're living through, you'd be surprised how much money you can make. Buy when there's blood on the streets.
Do you recommend a financial newsletter?
The only one I consistently read is Zero Hedge. Yeah, they're kind of crazy. Zero
They're
Hedge.
pretty pessimistic.
Yeah, they're crazy. I mean, they're flat out nuts. Okay, but a lot of times they will tell you shit that nobody else is paying attention to. Yeah, and that's why I like them. Look, basically, about a third of the things that they say are conspiracy theory bullshit. That chicken little, the sky is falling kind of crap. A third of it is like sort of like on the ball, or more of it. Half is like kind of like on the ball and talks about stuff that the mainstream is not referencing, and like a sliver of it, like a sixth, I'd say, or something like that. I mean, I'm screwing up my fractions, but you know what I mean. Like a sliver of the stuff that they say is like, holy cow, this is interesting. This is really interesting. Okay, it was because of Zero Hedge that I started paying attention to coronavirus. And yeah, and Zero Hedge and Mr. Medicare, the online personality, the YouTube personality, and it's because of that that I paid attention to coronavirus, and
And you sold a bunch of puts, yeah.
Basically, I don't want to talk about that anymore, because there's something I feel embarrassed. Okay, because a lot of people lost their shirts. A lot of people.
That's not your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not your fault.
Yeah, but you don't want to like be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do you spell Medicare? Mr. Medicare.
Mr. Medicare is Metokur. He's this really crazy online personality, and what he does is that he streams and then he takes down the stream, and so there's nothing on his channel practically. But there are like a lot of people who restream his streams or re-upload his streams. Check him out, because he's really funny. He's been paying attention to this shit since January, and it's because of him and Zero Hedge that I caught on to this shit. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay,
Awesome.
Mr.
Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Great talking to you again.
Absolutely.
Talk to you soon. Hey, and my best to your wife and to you and your family. I hope that they make out fine. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take it easy. Hey, Victor Redondi, you there? How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. What's up, man?
Great. How's it going? Coach?
Doing great. Thank you so much. You?
Pretty
Where
good,
are you
pretty
at?
good. I live in Brussels, so under quarantine, like everybody else, I guess. And it's funny to see how the Belgian state actually has been extremely responsible. I mean, like most of the states, right? They wait. But over here, it's okay. Right now, we can still go out, but other than that, nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
I have just a quick question to change a bit. Let's say to change continents. Let's talk a bit about Europe and especially what's happening a bit in Brussels and with the folks at the European Council. As you may know, there was let's say they're fighting quite a bit to say the least over there, especially basically Germany against everybody else. And what is your take on that? Do you think a possible dissolution of the European Union? That might be saying too much, but that's probable because, of course, some countries want to have, well, essentially they're disputing over fiscal and monetary policy, right? Germany wants to hoard the cash. All the other countries want to like let it go and try to devalue something. What do you think?
What do I think? I think that Italy is going to leave the European Union over this shit. Yeah, I think that that's what's going to happen. Yeah, because I think that a lot of people are realizing, hey, you know, we thought that this European Union was a great thing, and if we ever got into trouble, we'd get bailed out and helped and whatnot. And that's not the case now, is it? You know, the Spaniards, the Italians, they're incredibly pissed, and the French, they're not so happy either. You know. And everybody's realizing that the only one who's been benefiting from this shit are the Germans, and they're like pissed about it, you know. And yeah, they want to devalue the currency, and the Germans don't want that, you know, for obvious reasons. The Germans have this horror of hyperinflation, and so they want their money to be as hard as possible, and that makes everybody else suffer. And if it's going to be a deflationary spiral, holy cow, a hard currency and a deflationary spiral. That's going to cause all kinds of pain, and it's really going to hurt the European economy as a whole. Okay, I mean, Germany has problems of its own. You know, it's so dependent on car exports, and now the car is just shut down. It's literally shut down, right? But you know, the Germans have cash saved up. The Dutch have a boatload of cash saved up. They're going to do fine. But it's the southern economies, France, Italy, Spain, they're going to be suffering, and I think that it'll be curtains for the EU. That's my thinking.
Especially because Germany has this like massive current account surplus. Yeah. And they're doing just like siphoning the cash from the system, whereas other countries like Italy, as you rightly mentioned, who export most of their stuff, there's a clear conflict there. Yeah. So.
Well, you know, the Germans basically indulged in vendor financing. You know, they they lent money to the southern economies, and have the southern economies buy back the German products, right? And now they're underwater. They're all pissed off. They don't have any cash. They need cash. They got all these people dying. Yeah, the European Union. Yeah. The Germans, and they're so intransigent. You know, that's the thing, you know. Yes. They're so intransigent, and they don't realize that they have to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah, they want to play like the man who was wearing the box, let's say, that's wearing the cojones, and that's basically what's happening.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just want to say one thing, you know, that occurred to me. See, like this this live stream, this webinar, right? I'm going to do it every Sunday. But it's not always going to be like finance and economics and stuff like that. It's going to be like whatever is of interest. And also, I'm going to be putting polls in the Patreon site with potential different topics, and I expect you all to vote on whatever you want to talk about. Because if it's only like economics and finance and stuff like that, it can get tedious. Okay, and so it has to be, you know, a little bit of everything kind of thing. Because I want this. You know what I want this to be? It sounds stupid, but hear me out. I want this to be like a variety show, you know? where
Yeah, for sure.
it's not the same shit every time. Okay, it's like it mixes it up. You know, I mean, in a variety show, you know, you have a little dancing, you've got a guy telling jokes, you have a puppet show, maybe you have different stuff, right? You have like cute dancers, right, and a magician, maybe. Yeah, that's basically what I want. You know, that it sort of like mixes it
Yeah.
up about stuff that we would find interesting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, especially the finance and economics right now at the beginning of the coronavirus. That's quite interesting, and maybe down the line we'll get a bit less. Right.
Yeah, because like for instance, like next week, I wouldn't want to do a repeat of this stuff, okay? Unless
Nah.
something really big happens, then of course, yeah. But I'd like to talk about something else. I don't know what exactly, okay? Perhaps the thing that Tom was talking about before, what you call it, excuse me, Chris was talking about before, about
Yes.
the impact of how this is going to affect the man-woman relationship, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I want like to be different stuff, but like on the same line, the line of stuff that interests us. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. May I ask a finishing question, and I'll leave you to the stream?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. It was again on European Union. I guess I'm kind of hanged up on it.
No, of course.
No,
Totally. You're in fucking Brussels, man. Of course.
I actually live one metro station away from the headquarters in Schumann. Maybe you've been there.
Yeah, you're in the belly of the beast, man. Of course you're going to be wondering about it. So go ahead, fire away. What's up? What's on your mind?
Yes, about Brexit. Okay, but the joke, let's say, put aside the jokes of Boris Johnson getting the virus, whatever. Now, with of course, the Brexit talks have been severely restrained and, matter of fact, just halted. What do you think? Does it change the perspectives of Brexit in the future, and how do you think?
Yeah,
Because I don't. I mean, I try to myself. What do you think?
If I were the Brits, I'd be so happy about this because every day that passes, the European Union is in a weaker position. So every day that passes, the British position gets stronger. Simple as that. And so, yeah, if I'm the UK negotiator, I'm like, okay, you want to take your time, or you want to throw a hissy fit or whatever, we can take our time. Yeah, because the Europeans need Britain now more than ever. You know? So yeah, I think that well, Brexit is going to happen, and like I said, I think that Italy is going to split as well. And if Italy leaves, holy cow, that's going to be a blow. That is going to be a huge blow. But I think that the Italians, I think that they're going to start to realize, hey, what exactly are we getting out of the EU? We're not getting anything. Why are we here? We could devalue our currency, you know, restart our production, especially when this coronavirus peters out. Okay, people are going to be, yeah. I think that in Europe, when this coronavirus peters out, the European leadership, the EU leadership, they are going to be assholes about it. They are going to hold on to their tight money, right? Their hard currency, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to make it really, really hard for a lot of businesses to restart, especially in Southern Europe. And
the thing is,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh well, thank you. Yeah, and just jumping on what you say, and rightly so, because I think, can you confirm this also, if this is your opinion? Like the countries which are most, let's say, industrialized or produce the most industrial goods, like, you know, the north of Italy, all the Po Valley, Germany, of course, but they have more stakes in the European Union. They will get hit the hardest because these industries are extremely complex. You can't ship out a car without a fucking steering wheel or something else, you know.
Yeah.
So that's also interesting to put in the picture.
No, I think that the aftermath of this is when tensions are really going to rise. Yeah. But I think that this is all bad news for the EU. I think that the EU isn't going to make it. But you know, we've said that before, so we'll have to see. Yeah. Hey, Victor, it's great talking to you, man. Thank you so much.
Same, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck. Yeah.
You too. I want to talk to Trond Olsen. Trond, are you there? Hello, Trond, you there?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. What's up, man?
Oh, I just had a question. A couple of weeks back, I was looking for an old video that you published on stocks and bonds. I think it was originally a live stream, but I can't remember what it's called, and you have so many videos out, I cannot find it.
Yeah, no, it was called like stocks and bonds and something else. It was a live stream that I posted on my Coach Stream channel, and I'm gonna mute you a little bit because I'm getting like horrible echo. Okay, I'll unmute you in just a second. I'll answer you first, Trond, and then unmute you. Well, what happened was that, see, that channel, the Coach Stream, right? I took down some videos because a couple of them YouTube like struck and just made life difficult. It was on the secondary channel, and YouTube struck them and said that they were this, that, the other. And I was like, fine, I just took them all down. But what I can do is I can post them here on the Patreon channel if people are interested. Yeah, I'll do that. You know, I'll do that for the webinar tier, because the webinar tier seems to be of people who are like more interested in that kind of material and finance and whatnot. And so I'll post it there. Here, let me unmute you again, Trond. How does that sound to you, Trond? Does that sound all right?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, yeah. And where are you at, by the way?
Norway.
Oh, and how are things in Norway? I have no idea. How are you guys taking the situation?
It's fairly all right. They're somewhat concerned with the low oil price, since we are an oil export nation.
Yes.
But we'll get through all of that. The market seems to be very stable right now, actually.
Is everybody on lockdown now?
Well, I wouldn't call it a lockdown. I mean, they have obviously closed all the ports and airports, just like everybody else. It's mostly like wash your hands, 1 meter distance, and please don't do anything stupid. So it's more like a recommendation. It's not strictly enforced or anything.
But people aren't going to work in Norway.
Oh yeah, we are.
Oh,
yes,
you are?
Yes, we are. I'm in construction, and we have barely felt a thing. And we, you know, since we have more money than our neighbors, we are a bit spoiled, and we love technology. So we have computers everywhere, and so I think we were coincidentally very well prepared for the whole working from home situation. So retail markets, those are having a very hard time right now, but most other sectors in the economy is not very badly affected yet.
Really? That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, retail everywhere is having a hard time of it. Many people are put on temporary leave, but they're not firing people yet, because everyone is holding on to the hope that things will go back to normal very shortly. And it looks like they might, because the curve just went back down for a little bit. That doesn't really mean anything, because it can still shoot right back up. But things are looking well, and we will keep the current precautions until Easter, and then we will reassess.
Cool. And are they talking about breaking into that piggy bank of your sovereign wealth fund to fund the unemployment of the people affected by the coronavirus?
Oh yeah, that's essentially what they've always said that the fund is for. Primarily, the fund was meant to you know, give tax cuts and to invest in infrastructure, but the politicians have just spent the money however they felt like it. And they kind of said that, you know, this is why you pay taxes. You know, we need to have some money saved up for a rainy day, and it's raining outside.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Trond, I'd appreciate if you could like keep us up to date on the situation in Norway. I'm really interested.
Yeah. No, I think nothing has really happened to us that's been very bad. So I think we are very optimistic when things are going to hell, and then when everything is going well, we're kind of pessimistic just in general.
Well, that's a healthy attitude.
Well, I think we're a very strange people.
No, I think that's a pretty good attitude.
Yeah, well, we're newly rich, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you're not like blowing it on stupid shit.
Well, I think not yet, but you know, that's because the people that's running things are still come from a generation where we didn't have that much money. We are newly rich, but as the old guard fades away and the new generation of spoiled kids come in, we're going to blow all of that money, and you know, unfunded liabilities when it comes to pensions, old age pensions. That whole sovereign fund is going to disappear, obviously.
Yeah, because
But, I think I will have.
Yeah, the whole reason, by the way.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who don't know about economics and stuff like that, you know, you've probably been hearing about and something I didn't touch on here, but a lot of people have probably heard how the Federal Reserve is spending money and they're setting up Q infinity and whatnot. They're basically printing money to prop up the different markets, especially the bond market and now the equity market. Okay, the thing that the politicians are terrified of is that, see, the stock market. So many pension funds are invested in the stock market. And so when the stock market prices fall drastically, these pension funds no longer have the assets to cover their liabilities insofar as paying pensioners the money that they are owed. And so that's why everybody's so freaking out about the stock market. I mean, a lot of times it's so implicitly obvious to people talking about this stuff that sometimes if you don't know about this stuff, you're like, well, what's the big deal if the stock prices fall? It's the pension funds, because the United States has enormous pension funds that are basically insolvent, many of them. And at some point in the not too distant future, the US government is going to have to step in. And people have known this for a while now, because it's the baby boom generation that are starting to retire and they're getting sick and all the rest of it. And so all these unfunded liabilities is what Trond is talking about. In Norway, they have funded it with this sovereign wealth fund, but in the US and in the UK to a lesser extent, they haven't. So it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare. So anyway, that was just a quick parenthesis so that people might understand about it. So Trond, I'm going to ask you something. Like next week, I hope to see you here, and I'd appreciate if you gave us an update whenever anything happens in Norway. Okay?
All right. Will it be the same time next week, roughly?
Yes. Yes. Same time next week. Same time Sunday at this time every week. Okay. Great talking to you.
I'll...
Oops. Sorry about that, Trond. I cut you off by accident. Let me unmute you again. Trond, I'm so sorry. I cut you off. What were you about to say?
Oh, I just wondered, will I get an email reminder of this stream? Because I got one today.
Yeah,
1 hour before you email.
Well, notice something. What happens is that, see, I post on the Patreon site the announcement of the webinar and also the link to join the webinar. Once you have registered for the webinar, then you get the email thing. This is what I'm going to do. I'm realizing that if I set it up early in the week, okay, I'll post it. I'll post the link to the webinar for Sunday, and that way during the week you guys can register, so it's not like a big crowd at the last minute. Okay, and yeah, so that way you guys will have definite time. But just check up on the Patreon, on my Patreon page, and there you'll always find it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll try and be here again in a week.
Great. See you then. Take care. And let me go to Sebastian Mendo. By the way, if you want to ask any question, hey, Sebastian. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi. Yeah, pretty good. I'm currently in Canada, in Vancouver. Things are very chill right now, but we have a lot of cases, so I'm just staying at home all day. But I'm originally from Lima, Peru, and y hablo español también.
Okay. Well, most others here unfortunately don't, so we'll have to keep it in English.
Okay, sounds good. So my question is, how so currently in Peru, we have a complete lockdown of our country, and I'm sure in Chile and other Latin American countries it's the same.
Yep.
But for example, Brazil and Mexico aren't really following guidelines like the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know, like, what's your take on like the on how like the Latin American economy will be affected by this virus?
Well, the Latin American economies are always the weakest of the bunch, and so they're going to get hurt the most by this. Simple as that. That's the long and short of it. How each Latin American economy is affected by this, it'll depend on that country and where its soft spots are. I think that, for instance, countries like, well, Venezuela, Jesus Christ, man, they are just it's gonna be a disaster for them because already their economy is a disaster, and so all of a sudden they're gonna have all these sick people, and you know there are gonna be all kinds of rioting. You know, there isn't gonna be enough health care. It's gonna be a fucking disaster. That is one hellhole you don't want to be in. But like the rest of Latin America, you know, insofar as Mexico and Brazil is concerned, see, I actually understand their approach because they're saying to themselves, look, you know, if we have just a few cases, our healthcare system is going to collapse anyway. So what do? Just get everybody in lockdown and crash our economy to have not so many patients who will anyway crash our healthcare system? Or do we keep all engines running? You know, we don't crash our economy, and you know when the shit hits the fan, insofar as the number of cases is concerned, well, we just muddle through. I think that that's basically the decision that they made, and it's a rational decision because the fact of the matter is, shutting down your economy for this is a huge cost. I mean, it is a catastrophic cost for most countries. So it makes sense with their decision to just keep on going. And when this shit hits them heavy, they'll figure out how to deal with it or just suck it up and just bury the dead. You know, I mean, I understand their motive, their thinking here. Okay, I am not unsympathetic to their thinking. On the contrary, I think it's a rational decision, and it's just basically the decision that the Western countries in Europe and the United States decided not to do. You know, we'll find out come September which decision was the best. But you know, the Latin American economies are all going to suffer. They're all going to get hurt because they're all so fragile. They've always been fragile. You know, it's as simple as that.
And one more question. This is a little bit more personal.
Shoot.
So I'm currently in my own place alone here in Vancouver. But if I had the chance of going back to my family in Peru, but obviously risking getting infected by the coronavirus on the way, what do you think would be a best course of action? To stay in Vancouver or to head to Peru?
Well, what are you doing in Vancouver?
I'm currently a student here, but I'm also going to. I'm trying to get I work as a freelancer on the side, just to pay my rent and those kind of things. But obviously, work is a little bit slow, and and savings only get you so far. So that's why I was considering going back to my family for the summer, just until things like settle down a little bit more. But obviously, like with the situation in Peru, like it's only going to get worse. And here our healthcare is amazing, so that'll help out a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of like my situation.
Well, I would. Let me phrase this. Do you see a future for yourself in Canada?
Yes, absolutely.
Then, and do you see a future for yourself in Peru?
Not my plan is basically to stay here for a couple of years, and then when I have a little more money, go back to Peru and invest there. But obviously, most of my 20s will be spent in North America.
Well, then stay in Vancouver. Make the best of the situation you have currently. Simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like, what would you gain by going back to Peru? I mean, I understand if you have like family and they need you, that's different. Okay. I mean, if that's the case, then sure. But also, are there flights going from Vancouver to Peru?
Not at the moment. But
Yeah. And I don't think there are going to be any for quite a while, actually.
Interesting.
I actually don't think that the global air industry is going to restart until this blows over, and that's going to be like I said, September. I mean, I'm already negotiating with my landlord because my lease expires on the 1st of September, and I'm already negotiating with my landlord to have that extended because I don't think that there are going to be any flights from here to Ukraine. Okay, I mean, you know, I got my kids in Ukraine right now. I want to go and see them, and that country's locked tight. It's locked like a drum. It's nothing's going in or coming out. And ditto. I mean, I'm here in Amsterdam, and Schiphol Airport is closed basically. Nothing's flying. No one's flying. So, you know, I'm going to be stuck here until at least the 1st of September. And I'm guessing really realistically, the airlines, you know, after this crisis, they won't get their shit together for a while, you know, until like October probably. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we got to understand this is the long haul. This isn't going away anytime soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So if I were you, I'd batten down the hatches, make the best with the situation you have, and reconcile yourself that you are not going to be able to see your family. I mean, at least in person. I mean, you can talk to them online all you want, but I don't think you're going to be able to see your family for at least 6 months. That's my thinking. You see where I'm coming from, or you disagree?
Yeah, no, I perfectly agree.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it in like a confrontational sense. I'm saying you see the logic, you know, where I'm coming from. If I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong.
Definitely.
What?
Definitely, because thing is like my study permit also expires in September, so that's another thing that I was considering.
Oh yeah, but they'll probably give extensions to everybody because of that. If you're like a you know, on the right side of the law insofar as immigration, and you have all your papers in order and all that shit, they'll probably give extensions. I would like check up on it now, but they're probably going to do extensions for everybody who's a legal resident, who's like in your situation, a student or something. They recognize, of course, that they can't kick you out because there's no way to fly you to any country. See, so yeah. So don't worry about that, but I mean, stay on top of it, of course. But yeah, realistically, what, April, May, June, July, August, September, yeah, that's 6 months, right? Between now and the end of September, that's 6 months. I think that this is going to last that long, you know? This is unprecedented, okay? And like I insist, by the way, when the bodies start piling up, that's when the real panic is going to set in, okay? And we are headed that way. I mean, let me go back to the chart here that I showed you guys, this one, okay? It's just going to be a few days before we hit total 100,000 deaths worldwide from this thing. And yeah, I mentioned before that the Italians are counting it one way and the Germans another, but you know, it averages out, okay? In 10 days after that, it'll hit 1 million, okay? In, you know, mid-April, it will hit 1 million dead, and people will start to freak the fuck out, okay? It's gonna be like that. So, you know, you just have to, how can I put it? Focus on where you're at now, okay? Focus on where you're at now and focus on getting through this really rough patch, because that's the basic message I have to tell you guys, that from what I am looking at, and not based on my experience because I've never lived through a pandemic like this, but just, you know, the experience and the other things that I have done in my life, as well as the fact of history and how things like this play out in other situations that are similar or analogous, there will be a huge panic in the summer, May, June, July. The panic will be overwhelming, okay? Assuming, of course, that the deaths continue on this pace that you're seeing here on screen. If they continue on this pace, holy shit, are people going to freak the fuck out? Okay, I mean, people are going to be in churches and freaking out and tearing their hair out. I mean, this is really, really going to scare people. So you got to keep that in mind. So anyway, great talking to you, man, and I hope to see you next week.
Absolutely, thank you so much, Coach.
Take care. Talk to you soon. Dragos has sent me a message, and he said that he very badly wants to talk. So Dragos, how's it going, man?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. What's up?
Hey, it's always a pleasure listening to you.
Oh man, thank you so much. But you should listen to better people. If I'm a pleasure for you, oh man.
No, I've been listening to your advices in all your videos, and trust me, my life got better, way better, you know?
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much for
yeah.
telling me.
I'm calling you from England. I live
Yeah?
in England now. I'm Romanian, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just wondering what question to put you in the. What do you make of Putin's approach to this situation? He didn't lock down the country or didn't take any action. I'm all about natural selection and survival of the fittest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he closed the borders. Okay. I don't really know what they're doing in Russia. Apparently, it's just life as normal, but the borders are closed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I think after this situation we are in, I think the life will see an improve in the quality of life, also in the evolution of technology. What do you think?
I don't know. I think that it remains to be seen, because if this crisis is like 4 or 5 months, 6 months, it's really intense, but then we all return to normal, then people will forget it. It won't have a it won't change their mentality that much. See, like in the Great Depression, the Great Depression started in 1929, right? With the stock market crash in October of 29. And you know, every year was worse than the last, and things just kept going worse and worse and worse and worse. And the governments at the time were doing everything possible to bring things back up, but it just didn't work and whatnot. And you know, you had 1930, 1931, 1932, 1933. You have Franklin Roosevelt as a new president. 1934, 1935. You know, it just grounded on and on and on, right? Eventually, it started picking back up. Eventually, like in 35 and 36, it sort of like picked back up. 37, there was a downturn, and then 38 and 39, slowly, and then war in 1939. But the Great Depression, right, it lasted 10 years. And what happened there is that those 10 years at the time when it started, nobody thought it was going to last 10 years. We're at the start of this. Now, I personally hope that in 6 months this peters out. If it peters out in 6 months, it's not really going to change anybody's mind about anything. Everybody will just like dismiss it as like a bad patch and just try to forget it. But if this lasts for years, then it's a different story. If it lasts for years, then the lessons learned during this period of time of this second Great Depression, they will be burned into people's skull, okay? And then there will be a radical change of how people talk and think and act and behave. But even now, even if that were the case, okay, suppose this lasts for years, just for the sake of argument. If it
Maybe
were to last 3 years,
it will last 3 years.
How it would be in 3 years or 5 years, nobody will know. See what I'm saying? You can't predict this shit.
Yeah, but don't you think that all these deaths say that they will regain God's mercifulness? I'm just saying.
Well,
there's going to be a lot of death.
Yes.
And like when it's blood on the streets, you need to buy. But now it's not blood, it's more of ashes. Italians are burning there.
Yeah, no, it's going to be horrifying. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already kind of horrifying. So yeah, I can't. I'm. Well, you have to face the ugliness, you know, of what's coming at you. Okay. So that's why I'm doing these live streams, because I got to face this shit, you know. So yeah. So Dragos, it's great talking to you, man. How long have you been in England, by the way?
For 3 years. Yeah.
And are you trying to go back to Romania now, or do you want to stay in England?
No. I'm glad that the borders are closed. I'm not going back there anytime.
Okay, why not? You don't like it?
Nah, no, I don't like it. I don't like the culture. You know, I've always been attracted to Western civilization and all of that. You know, but at the end of the day, rich will get richer and poor will get poorer, isn't it?
Well, my thinking is that the people who are aware with their eyes open, they make out okay. It's the guys who sort of like accept whatever they're told by the government or by the media. Those are the guys who never get anywhere. That's my
Yeah, I
thinking.
know.
It's not so much
Yeah,
because you can
I
be poor and paying attention and you'll stop being poor real quick. And you can be rich and just like listen along to whatever the media says or whatever your stupid leaders say and wind up poor. So I don't think it's
yeah,
an
I
issue
know.
of rich or poor. I think it's having your eyes open and paying attention and being sleepwalking through the situation. I think that that's the difference. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand perfect.
Yeah. So Dragos, great talking to you, man. Catch you next
Yeah,
week.
great.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely.
Great. Looking forward to it. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And let me see. Daniel, I'm sorry, I was going to screw up your name, Daniel. Daniel Robitaille, you there? Hello.
Oh yeah, no, it's all right. It's Robitaille, but it's fine.
I'm so sorry. Hey,
Oh,
Dan, how's it going?
good. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Pretty excited, actually. Yeah.
Can you hear me all right? Because I'm on my phone right now, so I don't know if it's.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, man. No worries.
I just want to say, I talked to you earlier the last time you're on. I was one in New York. It's really weird. And I can actually hear the birds this morning. It's really, I know it's hard to explain. Just the like ambience of everything around here is different without the traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Because where I live in Amsterdam, it's usually full of people, full of tourists, right? Because I live
Yeah,
close to the train station. And yeah, there's nobody.
really weird. Like especially somewhere like New York where you can't. Oh man, it's like surreal almost.
Yeah, I lived in Lower Manhattan, right? Just south of Wall Street, as a matter of fact. And on the
Mhm.
weekends, it was dead empty, dead quiet, right?
Especially in the
Uh,
summer, right?
yeah, I mean, like, no, all the time. It was just empty
Oh,
because Wall Streeters would just like, flee, you know? During the day, it was full. I mean, like a weekday. But like on a Sunday, for instance, there was nobody, right? And but now to realize that that's the whole city, man. Holy cow. I saw some picture of Times Square. It was like totally empty. Holy
yeah,
cow.
yeah. I was down there before everything got shut down. I was like, yeah, might as well take some pictures.
Can you get around the city?
I haven't tried since because they had like this whole lockdown last week, so I haven't tried since then. But I've seen like I'm on Long Island, so and I commute to work. Well, not right
Oh,
now,
yeah,
everything, but but
yeah.
so I haven't really tried. But I mean, I drove through like last Sunday, and it was just dead. But there was no. I think they like blocked off some areas trying to stop people, but I haven't really been in the epicenter of it since then.
No, like what I'd like to do, I mean, oh, I can't do it, right? But I would like to get out like on a motorcycle and cross the United States right now.
All
Like,
this is actually where I wanted to ask you about that because like I didn't know about your opinion because I mean like New York being kind of the center of it all, like what you thought about staying here or going or like riding a bike or something.
well, my thinking is that just like you got nothing better to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So you might as well just like, drive around, ride around on a bike, and see the country. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have.
I've driven across the U.S. several times.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I did this one big trip. I'll be nostalgic, man. If you guys get bored, you're just gonna have to mute me. But I did this from New York City to Toronto, then around the Great Lakes, across the plains of Canada, Winnipeg, down to Edmonton, then north to Calgary, and then kept on going north all the way to Yellowknife, which is the northernmost town you can get to by land.
Mhm.
And then from Yellowknife, I crossed over to the Rockies to Alaska, and then up to I got to Fairbanks, which is right dead center in Alaska, right, and then went all the way north to Dead Horse on the north shore of Alaska on the Arctic Ocean, then down to Anchorage, and took a ferry down to Juneau and another ferry down to Bellingham in Washington State, and then down the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, San Francisco, LA, and then crossed the Southwest, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas. Then the deep South, what was it? Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia, and got all the way back to New York City. And it took me like 8 months to do that trip. It was great. It was a great trip. I did it on Land Rover. Yeah, it was a fantastic trip. And if I were in the States now, I'd do another big trip like that. I'd get like a motorcycle this time. And
That's
just
what,
What? I'm sorry?
Well, that's what I've been considering, because basically when I was in the Marines, I did the New York to California because I was stationed in San Diego. Then I came back to New York the same way.
Yeah.
And it really just changed your perspective. Like, you don't realize how diverse America is till you drive through it. You really don't. Like the fields.
And not do like interstates, but like do like the little roads. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And look, I think that kind of trip, that kind of like expedition, I'd do that now if I could. Definitely.
I've been considering it. I mean, like, what do you think of like just the atmosphere? Do you think I should be worried about people like going crazy at the moment, or you think like how you've been talking about?
They're going to start getting crazy like in the summer.
There's been some riots I heard like last night or something with, I don't know.
Oh, I haven't heard that yet. I haven't heard that.
Maybe it's some fanatic thing, but I've heard about it. But I just know what your opinion was on it. Do you think this trip should be more to get the hell out of Dodge while I can, or am I still kind of safe?
No, I think that kind of talk is like, no, don't worry about that. You're fine. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I would recommend is keep your head down, because people are going to start going crazy in a little while. Okay. You can already start to see it,
Yeah.
And when people start to die, that's when the real craziness is going to start. Okay.
Well, I gotta say, I don't know. Just
people
New
are
York.
obviously dying now, but I mean, when they start dying in big numbers, excuse me. Yeah. That's when you're gonna see it.
Because even now, like, there's, I don't know, people just are different when I go outside. I don't know, a lot of them are different. Like, they're just looking at you like you're some, disease or whatever. So that's pretty much.
Great talking to you, Dan.
Yeah. I'll definitely try and be on next weekend, but I really appreciate all the help and everything, and I just find it funny because I was listening to your video before all this happened. I was telling some of my friends, oh, that's not going to happen here.
Yeah. Oh man, this is getting heavy shit. Yeah.
It's interesting how things change,
Yeah, they change awfully fast. So anyway, Dan, great talking to you, and I'll catch you next week. Take it easy,
Okay.
man.
All right. Yep. Talk to you later. Bye.
And Bill Semmet, I tried to talk to you before. Bill, are you there? Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Coach. Yeah. Great webinar. You already answered my question. I was interested about the market, and you covered that. So I had a technical difficulty. Got it fixed.
No worries. Man. Are you? But
okay.
You finding this webinar software? Is it working all right?
Yes. I've used it with other presenters, and the webinar software seems to work fine.
Oh, that's terrific. That's good to hear. Yeah, because I did an impromptu webinar like 2-3 days ago. It was like spur of the moment. It was unannounced, and I just did it just because I wanted to try out the software, and people seemed to have no trouble with it, and so they were kind enough to basically be my guinea pigs. But I didn't have like a prepared presentation like this time or anything specific I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to try out the software, and so I pulled the trigger and purchased it. And I want to make it a regular feature because I think it's worth the investment, and people seem to enjoy it. I mean, you tell me, do you find this do you find this better than just having like a video of me talking for a while?
Yes, I like the variety. I'm fascinated that everybody is from all sorts of different places on the planet too. I didn't expect that. I was a little surprised.
Yeah, yeah, it's real cool. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm in flyover country, Ohio, just about an hour north of Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, WKRP.
Right. I'm actually in Dayton. This is where the Wright brothers did their work to invent the airplane years ago.
Yeah, you know, I've never been to Ohio. I just haven't gotten around to going there, you know? What are
Well,
you doing out there?
you've seen every place else in the country, so
Yeah, I've never like I've been all over the deep south, right? And Texas, I know a little bit of the Southwest, but like California, I know it real well, and Oregon and Washington real well. Um, but like I've never been to Chicago, never been to the Midwest, and I want to go. I know it's a beautiful country, and yeah, but just I haven't gotten around to it. It's like, you know, I've never been to Asia, never been at all to any country in Asia or Australia or New Zealand or anything like that. And everybody's like, oh, you should go, man. It's so cool. Yeah, but you know, there's not enough years in a life sometimes. You know, there's just a lot of stuff to do. What do you do out there, by the way, Bill?
in real estate
Yeah,
and investing. Yeah,
let
so
me ask you
that
something.
was a question.
You've been noticing the real estate market, right? How's it going there? Are
Yes,
prices steady or are they starting to fall?
the prices have been high, and we haven't seen any change. The president and the governor sort of locked us down recently. So this is like about the first or the second week of living through the lockdown. So yeah, we just have to give it time to see what happens. And I expect everything to drop. Right now, the real estate prices are just crazy high,
Yeah,
crazy high for
yeah.
our area. Now they don't compare to Hollywood or New York at all, but so I'm just gonna sit and wait.
Yeah, my thinking is that it's just sit and wait, and there's no point in being stressed out, and the idea of chasing the market to the bottom, no, it's just not appealing to me. Just gonna wait it out, just see how it turns out, and and like I said, I expect things to really go south, really go tits up, come the summer, you know, like June, July, just looking at the numbers and the pace of infection and knowing how people are, how they panic. That's the key issue. I think that the summer is going to be like a summer on fire. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Now you threw me a curveball earlier when you said that when this thing is over, there's going to be a boom,
Mm.
and I don't know if I agree with that.
Tell me
I'd
why.
have to give that thought because I don't know when. First of all, I don't know when it's going to be over. I mean, it might
Yeah.
not be over this year at all. It might be,
No, you're right. I mean,
and
obviously. Okay. I mean, it's premised on that this peters out by September. Let's just posit that. Okay. I mean, like, you know, give me a little bit of rope to hang myself with. You know, say it ends in like I said, like by the 1st of September, this is sort of like petered out. What would you think the reaction would be? Wouldn't people want to be desperate to get back to work and get back to normal, quote unquote?
okay, it's a good question. But my other question is, what happens if we have a lot of casualties? What happens if
Oh,
we actually have casualties at the morgue and you see them and you know them? It might affect people psychologically for a long time. That's what I was thinking also.
yeah, I agree with that. And I was thinking that in that case, people would become a lot more conservative, a lot more um, not willing to take any shit, you know? Because if you've seen somebody close to you pass away, you become very impatient with silliness and the unimportant stuff. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I think it would have a big impact on the culture and how people confront things, you know, and deal with things.
that's what I was wondering. Yes, that's what I was
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah.
The idea of a boom is great, but right now I just have a hard time seeing it. So let me think about it. I might be able to see it, but right now I'm having a hard time seeing a boom anytime in the near future, certainly.
No, yeah, but like I said, this is premised on that this peters out and that people want to get back to normal, okay? And that kind of energy, that pent up energy of being in lockdown for months and months and seeing all this suffering, finally they're out of the house, they're able to really just get back to work and do things that they want to do, and that would have like a very positive and profound impact on the economy to really perk everything up. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying we're all interconnected, and I'm seeing unintended consequences.
Oh, like
Unintended
what?
consequences come out of left field, and something you think is unimportant may very well become important, and the important stuff may be unimportant. That's what I'm thinking of.
No, look, this is all spitballing at the end of the day. We're going to have to see how it plays out. But you're an investor, I'm an investor, and my thinking is just take it a day at a time and don't do anything rash. And I think that the thing that scares me the most is to chase the market to the bottom, to say, oh, you know, it's down now, now's the bottom. And that's the thing that scares me the most. And I think that I'm terrified of you know, throwing good money after bad and watching the market just tank, and I'm being pulled down with it, because I've heard a lot of stories and read a lot of stories over the years. I can't remember the names of these investors who did that, and they were smart customers. They knew what they were doing, but they thought that they were better than the market or smarter than the market, and that they could time their entry into the market, and it just dragged them down. And that's the thing I'm terrified of, you know?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just seeing blue chips are on sale and dividend. Blue chips and dividends and solid dividends are on sale for the first time
You
in a
know
long
that
time.
you know that every company that's going to get any bailout money, they will be prohibited from giving out dividends.
See, that's news. That's news. I just learned that today.
It was in my presentation, actually. Yeah. You should look into that. Any company that gets either bailout, either direct funding or a loan from the Treasury from this fund will not be allowed to pay out dividends or do stock buybacks. Yeah. So, and I think it's like a long time, actually. Shit, that you're gonna have to look up yourself. But I do believe that there was it was like for a year after they get the money or something like that. So yeah, it has an impact on it. So yeah. Hey, Bill, I hope I see you next week. Yeah, because I
Hey,
like
Coach,
to.
how am I going to buy your book? How am I going to buy your book? Wilshire
Soon.
Boulevard.
Soon. It'll be soon. And for reasons, look, what happened was that last year I got roped into this. The reason I'm in Amsterdam, well, I'll tell you guys. The reason I'm in Amsterdam is because last year during the summer, I was doing the what you call it, the audiobook of Wilshire Boulevard, and I screwed it up. I'd made a hash of it, and I was getting ready to re-record it, and then a business opportunity arose. The opportunity was basically to move to Amsterdam, be in Amsterdam basically 10 days out of every month, and this this group of investors had put together a fund to basically short sell some bonds, and I was going to work as customer relations. And so the idea was, it was a fund put together by a Chilean guy who works at an investment bank, a guy I've known for about 15 years, and he's half Chilean, half Dutch, and he knew some Dutch and German investors. And he put together this fund, and he needed somebody who would act as liaison between the Chilean partners in the fund and the European partners. And so he said, look, you can join in this fund because these guys are really rich. I mean, I was like the small bananas here, right? You can join the fund, right? And what you have to do is we'll pay you a per diem and pay you for the house in Amsterdam, and of course travel. And you have to do 10 days out of the month, basically customer relations. Basically, you know, just get everybody, you know, chill and basically act as our PR representative to the European partners, right? And so I started this job in September, and what happened was during September and October, I was busier than holy cow. I was really, really busy because all these investors were getting awfully nervous because the positions we'd taken, they weren't going our way. They were going the opposite direction. They were looking pretty like we'd made a bad bet. But come November, December, things started turning around. But what happened was that during that period of time, I was working so much on this. In fact, I wasn't spending 10 days a month here. I was spending closer to 20 days a month. And so I wasn't able to finish up on the Wilshire Boulevard thing. And I was working my ass off on this project. And finally, at the beginning of this year, that's when things really started turning around. And the positions that we'd had just became just a cropper. And the reason I'm in Amsterdam is because on, what was it, on my son's birthday, March 12th, the partners told me that I had to go to Amsterdam because the partners had all the investors had decided to cash out. And I had a power of attorney for the Chilean partners, and I had to come out here and sign, and so we could exit the position. And I came here, and the day after I arrived, my airline canceled all flights, and now I am stuck here. And yeah, so I'm definitely gonna finish the fucking Wilshire Boulevard and send it to you if you were, and sell it to everybody. But yeah, that's been basically the story of my life. And to tell you the truth, I'm very, very unhappy to be here in Amsterdam because I have a lot of time on my hands. I don't have any of my camera gear here because I have it all in Ukraine in my studio there. I'm far from my kids, you know, whom I miss terribly, and I'm very worried about because in this time, you know, I want to be there to look after them and make sure that everything's okay. But I'm stuck here. I am stuck here and just very, very miserable, to tell you the truth, because it's lonesome, it's boring, and so that's why I'm starting this this thing to actually to have something to do. And I'm going to be finishing up Wilshire Boulevard and finishing up a bunch of stuff that I've postponed for different reasons, you know, other things in my life. But Wilshire Boulevard is one of them. And the reason I'm doing this is because, you know, I'm basically sitting with my thumb up my ass all day, and it is just incredibly frustrating because I'm stuck here. And the business that I'd been hired to do and invested in, it's over. We cashed out. We sold our position. It's all done. We made out very, very well. We were very lucky, and everything is hunky dory. But I'm stuck here, and you have no idea how miserable I am because of it. And so, yeah, well, look, I'm sorry for giving you a sob story, Bill. I mean, I don't want to sound like a little whatever, like a little whiny bitch. I mean, I'm incredibly lucky in general, but you have no idea how unhappy I am to be here. And so I think that out of that unhappiness, that's part of the reason that I decided to do these webinars, because it's something to do. It's something that I look forward to, because to tell you the truth, I was so looking forward to it like the last couple of days that I was going to do this, you know, because it's just, I got to keep occupied, man. You see what I'm saying? Does this happen to you?
I am occupied. I've got a hobby. I've actually got a hobby. I was spending my time in the hobby room. So
yeah,
eventually it'll get to me. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Eventually it'll get to me.
My hobby was the videos I made, right? And my gear is all in Ukraine. And so I have some like old videos that I recorded. I'll have to look at them because I haven't edited them. And so I'll look at them and post them because I have videos for Patreon, right? And yeah, I'm gonna have to sort out how I continue doing videos, but it's just, God, I so fucking hate being here. I mean, the people here in Holland are lovely people, okay? They are not the problem at all. And you know, shit, I'm in fucking Amsterdam. It's a beautiful city, but you know, I miss my kids very much. That's the thing. I mean, if we're being real honest, that's the thing that's driving me a little bit around the bend. So, Bill, it was great talking to you, and yeah, I'll catch you next week. Okay?
That sounds good. Have a good one. Hang in there.
You too, man. Take it easy. Let me go to, let me see. Who wants to ask a question? Wait, I'm going to put everybody's hand down, and anybody who has a question, raise your hand. Oh, Patrick Delvernois. If I'm mispronouncing it, please excuse me, Patrick. Patrick, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how's it going, my man?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I just have a question regarding your, I guess, experiences traveling. What did you learn from them?
That's a good question. Okay, like the macro question, the macro answer would be that people are a lot more alike than you realize. Okay, people aren't as different as they say. This diversity shit, it's a crock. Most people are very, very similar. They might dress differently and they might eat different foods and shit like that. But their motivation, the way they act, the things that are important to them, it's pretty much the same everywhere. Okay, it's basically the kids, the woman, money. That's basically it. I mean, people have very simple needs, and for the most part, I've noticed too is that people are, for the most part, very kind. People, I mean, I have never been in a situation where I met some stranger and I thought to myself, this stranger wants to hurt me. Never. Every time I've met some stranger, it's usually like they're curious about me. I remember very clearly, I mentioned this recently. I was down in Mississippi one time. I was passing through Mississippi. I stopped in this town, real small town, real backwoods kind of town. I needed to get gas, and it was time for lunch. I figured I'd get some gas and have something to eat. And so I went to some restaurant there, a little shack, right? And the lady there was nice as could be, and she made me up some food. I forget what it was, but I remember clearly there were these kids, right? This is like in 2000, okay? These kids, they were like, I don't know, 10 years old, 12 years old, something like that. And they came up to me in the restaurant, right? I was at the counter of the restaurant, and they came up to me, and they were like, because there were New York license plates on my Land Rover, right? And they came up to me and said, "Are you from New York City?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Oh wow, we don't know anybody from New York City. And they started talking to me, right? Nicest boys, right? Nice as could be, and they were just genuinely curious. And that's the thing I've noticed that I mean, like I said, I've never met anybody traveling around who hasn't been anything other than just kind and curious. At worst, they might be dismissive and like, oh, just get away from me, you tourist or whatever. I want to go to work or do this or that. That's the worst that's ever happened to me, right? But for the most part, people are just really, really kind, Yeah.
No, I agree. Like I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I've been in Idaho since January for an internship. I sent you a message about this. I'm the kid who wants to do the Appalachian Trail, just for reference.
Oh yeah, that sounds fucking awesome. Oh yeah, do it. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say just being in Idaho, which is a place I've never been to. It's just been a unique and wholesome experience. Like you just learn so much about yourself while away. You experience things like I've climbed mountains, volcanoes here, climbed up to lakes, climbed the Grand Tetons, a whole bunch of other stuff in between.
Oh, that's awesome.
It makes life more meaningful going to different places.
Yes, it does. Okay. See, Patrick here, he sent me a DM, right? And he was asking if it was a good idea to do the Appalachian Trail. And Patrick, if I recall, you're like early 20s, right?
Yeah, I'm 22 years old.
Yeah. And I told him, look, Patrick, you'd be a fucking moron if you don't do it, I mean, damn, son, this is the time of your life to do that kind of shit. And that is going to last you a lifetime. You got to do it, Oh,
no, I agree. But I can explain my little situation more. So I'm working or for everybody else, you may already know some of it, but I'm currently working at a Department of Energy site in Idaho, and it seems like they're interested in me for full-time employment, but I also have this urge to do the Appalachian Trail because now is the perfect time. I don't have a girlfriend. I have family members, but I don't have a family myself. Like I'm gonna have low student debt or no debt at all, so I'm free to do whatever. And I thought this would just be the perfect time to do something like the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, and I remember telling you that you should talk to the people there, and that maybe you could figure something out that would work for them and work for you.
Oh no, I have been since probably day 3 of my internship. I've told, because my coworkers ask me like, oh, so what are you gonna do after you graduate? And I say, oh, I'm gonna go hike the Appalachian Trail. So my intentions are on the table, and I told my coworkers, would it be possible if I say have a job lined up before I do the Appalachian Trail and I come back and then I start employment? They kind of gave me iffy answers. They said it comes down to timing and it's probably not going to be likely, but a job's a job. I'll probably remember the Appalachian Trail or doing the Appalachian Trail more than a job or a career.
Yes, yes. I mean, quite frankly, because it's not so much that you're giving up on a career, okay? It's just a job, okay? And you should never sacrifice a great experience in your life for a job, okay? And the thing is, see, you're always going to have the excuse of like, oh, no, this job is really important. See, if I do this job, my career will really take off. You'll always have that excuse. And you'll never do the things that are actually like have a greater impact on your life, have mean more to you, okay? Where each day is actually just matters more, because some of your days in your life matter more than others. And some day that you spent at the job doing the job shit, it doesn't matter. It's not particularly important, you know. But doing an Appalachian Trail, how long did it take you? 4 or 6 months, something like that?
It'll take 6 months and it's over 2,000 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd do it. No doubt in my mind. No question.
The only problem with it is now that, you know, the whole COVID-19 situation, the organization that oversees the trail told people to get off.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering when the trail was going to open back up again, because I didn't see this happening. Like I was following January and I was like, oh, you know, this will be contained, and then it gets to the United States, and now we're here.
No. Next year. I mean, that's the earliest, right? Because I mean, you can't do the Appalachian Trail during winter, right?
No, you can't. I was thinking about starting in August if it opens back up, and then I'd finish by December. But I could always take it off and.
No, it's next year, 2021. You know, yeah. Just hunker down and focus on what you're doing now. I mean, just know that it's not going to happen this year because of this shit. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but you know, we'll get it done one way or another, and I'll update you and everybody else if they're interested.
Yeah, I'd be real interested. I mean, you do that would be something worthwhile. You should. My suggestion, by the way, take detailed notes. Okay, like not like how you're feeling and crap like that. Oh, that too. But I mean, take notes of what you see every day. At the end of the day, I mean, when you do it, when you do like big experiences like that, you'd be surprised how much you forget. Okay, and taking notes, it's a good discipline to recall later, because you're going to want to recall later, and there are going to be details and the names of people that you meet along the way that you'll forget, you know, and that'll be a tragedy. You'll really regret it. So if and when you do that, and this goes for anything, any kind of big adventure, and for everybody listening, you're doing something really unusual, take the time at the end of the day, it takes half an hour at most, to jot down real quick the important things that happened, who you met, what you did, the things that you noticed, and you'll thank yourself later when you revisit those notes. Yeah.
No, I actually do currently do that. Like every night before I go to bed, I write down things that happened throughout the day.
Yeah, yeah. Not like a dear diary, you know, oh, I'm feeling so alone, shit like that.
For example, yesterday I went hiking in the lava tubes. So I just wrote down, you know, things I saw, how, found exquisite details about it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Pat, it's great talking to you, man. Yeah, I'll catch you next week, I hope.
All right, see you later. I'll see you next week.
See you next week. And I want to get to Thomas Rye. Thomas, are you there? How's it going?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. What's up, man?
Yeah, so I'm in Norway.
You're in Norway too?
Yeah, and it's pretty good.
And based in Norway?
I don't know. Just me and that one other guy.
Are there like Coach Red Pill groupies in Norway? I hope so.
I never talked to anyone else who watched your videos. So.
What's up, my man? Well, I already know how Norway's doing from Trond. What about you? What are you up to?
So I'm 20. I'm studying computer science, and now I just went from one side of Norway to the other to be with my family. So all this blows over, and I'm still studying. So we're doing fine, pretty much.
That's good to hear. What was your question? What's on your mind?
So I pulled a bunch of money out of the stock market recently, and I've been wondering about putting it into China or South Korea. And just wondering how you think those economies are going to do in the future.
I personally would not put money into those countries. South Korea and China for different reasons. Okay, South Korea because I don't really know it. Okay, and I think that investing in those countries, you got to know what you're doing. And of course, like I was talking before with Bill, that you don't want to be jumping in a market when it really hasn't bottomed out. You want to get into the market when it really has bottomed out, and that won't be for a while. Okay, number one. Now, insofar as China is concerned, the second part, see, China is going on this big PR offensive right now because they recognize that they screwed the pooch, and everybody's blaming them, and people are realizing that this is not completely natural. And if people are coming to the realization that it's probably man-made somehow. Because of coincidence that this appeared right next to this virology lab, it's too absurd. It's just too crazy. And so people are going to be blaming them. And they're already blaming them for not having warned the rest of the world. They're blaming them for giving false information, which is blatantly false and everybody knows it. And so when this blows over, I think that the effects on China are going to be pretty negative. And I think that the Chinese Communist Party will feel very, very threatened, and they will likely impose a lot of restrictions on their own people to try to maintain power. See? And so I do not think that things are going to work out very well in China. That's my thinking at this point. So the idea of investing in China, I personally would not do it. I mean, if you know what you're doing, if you know the market, you know the companies, the players, whatnot, well then, okay, I suppose you know what you're doing.
Yeah, okay. Can I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
So I'm still 20. I've got a lot of time to learn before I start a career.
Yeah.
What type of skills do you think one should try to learn now that we've got a lot of time in quarantine?
Okay, one of the most important skills that you should learn is public speaking. To speak with a bunch of people in front of a bunch of people in a fluid and confident manner. That is one of the most important skills you'll have in life, because it doesn't matter how well you put together a presentation or a paper or whatnot. Most business deals occur face to face, and you have to talk to people and look them in the eye and tell them whatever it is that you want or what you're offering or what you're buying or whatnot. And so what happened to me when I was young, when I was 19, I started working as an English teacher, English as a second language in Chile. And I had to teach these grown people, these people who got jobs and worked and whatnot. I had to teach them English. And I had classes, I taught them like in the mornings, they would show up like at 6 in the morning. There were like 1 hour groups, and they were at 6, 7, 8, and 9 in the morning, right? And then at the end of the day, because of course during the middle of the day they'd go to their jobs, right? So these people were very serious, and I wound up teaching English to them for 2-3 years, and I had to talk in front of them and act like I knew what I was talking about. And so I had to prepare, and I had to prepare lessons and whatnot, and teach them the lessons, and that gave me enormous confidence in terms of speaking in front of groups. You want to learn that ability to give a presentation in front of people, in front of 2 people, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. That is a really, really important skill. If you're 20 years old, that's the skill you want to master. And there are classes that can teach you this. Okay, there are public speaking courses. You just have to look for them. And they can teach you, because there are basic techniques to make you better, more confident, more convincing.
You know, how to modulate your voice so that when you speak, people pay more attention to you, that kind of thing.
Okay, thanks.
No problem, Thomas. And say hi to whoever's the lady who's talking in the background. Who's that? Your mom?
Yeah, my mom.
Yeah. Well, say hi to her for me, okay? And hi to you too. Catch you next week.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
Bye. Oh, Stephen Pace. Stephen, how's it going, Stephen? You there? Hello, Stephen? I guess Stephen's not there.
Hold on. Hey, Gonzalo.
Hey, how's it going, my man? What's up?
Hey, going good. This is Stephen Pace from beautiful Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, beautiful. How have you been? How's it going in Charleston, South Carolina?
It's going good, although things are kind of uncertain. That's kind of what I wanted to ask you about. I'm a manufacturing engineer at Boeing, building 737s and 787s, and I'm also an officer in the Air Force Reserve. The questions I wanted to ask you are the oil, like Saudi Arabia flooded the market, and so they can flip the switch in the other direction, and eventually the price of oil could go up if they wanted it to. They could do it tomorrow. So the first question is, would it be good to buy oil and invest? The second question is, what do you think about Boeing? Because they were already hurting because of the whole 737 MAX grounding due to the crashes. And now with the coronavirus, travel is down, which means airlines are canceling orders. And then they got hit with the triple whammy because with the price of oil being so cheap, now airlines tend to maintain their older fleets longer rather than purchase newer, more efficient aircraft. So I just wanted to get your general thoughts on like Boeing and too big to fail and all that stuff. And then my third question is, can you give us some if-then statements on Trump getting reelected? And finally, I would just like to say to Pat, I'm 33 years old. I got my bachelor's degree in 08 when the shit hit the fan. And if Pat has an opportunity to work for the federal government in the Department of Energy, you might want to strongly consider that, considering we're talking about how bad the economy could potentially get, because when the economy goes south, one of the safest places you can work is the federal government, because if the federal government goes under, then shit is real bad. So I would just caution him to consider, his options. But those are my three big questions: oil and investment. What do you think about Boeing? And some if-then statements on Trump getting reelected. And I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much. I just pulled in Pat. Pat, you heard what?
Oh no, I'm definitely considering both options. It's not like, oh, I'm not. I would love to do the trail, but I also consider this may be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Or I'm already in, so it's gonna be easier to stay in. But if I leave, it's gonna be harder to get back in. So it's just those types of things I can do.
And what I'm saying is it's not a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like you can work for the federal government, it's going to be around. But what I'm saying is, if we're all sitting here thinking about how bad the economy could potentially get, and you have the opportunity to get a job for the federal government when you're young, trust me, man, when I graduated in 08, fucking it sucked looking for a job in that economic condition. So I'm just telling you to consider the options that you have on the table.
Oh no, I will certainly consider it. And then also, I mean, to your argument, I could work for a year or two, then do it because of the current situation we're in, and because the trail may not open up until next year. So those are things I have to consider.
Yeah, the federal government and the trail aren't going anywhere. So both those entities will be around.
Yeah,
regardless,
Stephen's right.
I'm doing the trail regardless. Sometime in the near future, I'll be doing it. So.
But Stephen's right. The trail isn't going to go anywhere, and yeah. I think perhaps I was mistaken in that thinking of like, you do the trail and screw the job, because Stephen is right. These jobs don't come along very often, and if you can snag it and hold on to it and make a strong career for yourself, who knows where you could wind up. Yeah.
Well, my university, because I said earlier I'm an internship, my university was actually recalling all their interns back to where they live so they can work on all of their projects remotely. This internship for accreditation, but I decided to stay because this would give me an opportunity to apply to internal positions rather than being external.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Well, anyway, Pat, thanks for thanks for. I hope that you took Stephen's words to heart, because I think that he's pretty smart. And now let me answer you, Stephen, what you asked. The first thing you want to know about was the oil, right? And you were saying that the Saudis could like turn it right back up. Well, the problem is the lack of demand. So even if they were to shut down production, even if it just went to zero, right? There's all this this oil out in the market, and there's no cars, no planes. So
sure.
I mean,
but the price right now is at historic lows. So yeah, you could buy now, and there might not be demand till this whole virus shit blows over. But I'm thinking like, you could buy now at rock bottom prices, and then in 3 years, the Saudi prince could be like, you know what? I decide that the price of oil is $150 a barrel, or whatever the person wants it to be. So
yeah,
I was just kind of thinking more long,
right? Like 3-year options, because you can't like buy the oil and store it, right?
Yeah, see, I'm not into commodities, so I don't understand how that would even work.
Yeah, well, what happens is that in a situation like that, in a practical sense, you cannot simply buy oil and store it, okay? You buy certificates, you buy futures contracts, and of oil that doesn't exist yet. And it's so far in the future that I don't know if I don't know if it's even possible, quite frankly, and I don't know if it would be worthwhile. So like I'm unclear as to how that would be done. But the notion that once this turns around, that the oil prices are going to go up, yeah, absolutely, no question. But the shorter term, it's going to be like definitely going to keep on falling. The fact of the matter is, just to show you that chart real quick, where I have right. This is the chart of oil, right? It's at 21 and change.
Yeah.
I think it's going to keep on falling down, just keep on going down to God knows where, because there's no demand. Nobody wants it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Your third was if then questions about Trump, but I forgot the second.
The second one was, what are your thoughts on Boeing and being too big to fail, and how we're kind of fucked right now?
Well, Boeing is an essential contractor for defense spending, right?
Yep.
And they do all kinds of systems and planes and whatnot. Okay, so I don't know if they could easily split off the commercial aviation from the military contracting. Let's assume not, for the sake of argument. Then the federal government would have a clear and present need to maintain Boeing. Okay, would they nationalize it and wipe out the shareholders? I don't know.
Yeah, like that happened to GM back in the day. That happened to GM. Like, if you look at the history of GM stock, it only goes back to like 2011 or something. They basically wiped it clean.
Yeah. So I don't know how they would do that. But there's some weird noise. I'm gonna mute you for a little bit. I don't know how they would do that, but I do know that Boeing is essential. So they're not going to let Boeing fail, because they can't afford to have Boeing fail because of the equipment that it manufactures that's essential for defense, and also because of the numbers of US workers that Boeing employs. So for those two reasons, the government won't allow Boeing to fail. Will they nationalize it? Perfectly reasonable. And I would think that it would be likely. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Stephen, you there? Hello? Steven.
Hey, yeah, sorry, you muted me and then I had to get off me. It does make sense, and you got to remember, for every one job at Boeing, there's probably like 5 in the supply chain, so it's a lot bigger than people think.
Exactly.
But yeah, and I do work for Boeing, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And
So I don't think your job is in peril, quite frankly. I mean, if that's the question you really want to answer, I'll tell you that it's an essential company. If you're investing in Boeing, if you've got like a stock position, you might get fucked. Yeah. But if you're Boeing, you're not going to lose your job.
Yeah, I've already seen my 401 because I was a dumbass and I didn't diversify. I was investing in the same company that I worked in, and yeah, I've seen my 401k get fucked. But
you never do that. You never do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson.
Yeah. You never invest in the company that you work for, because if the company goes tits up, you get fired. That's when you're going to need the money, but that's when the stock is going to be at its lowest price. See? So
Yeah, I've learned that.
Yeah. But okay, and the if-then questions about Trump. Well, my thinking
Getting
is
rid
that it seems that Trump is doing okay. He seems to be, his approval rating seems to be up. People seem to trust him, that he's handling shit well. It also seems that people are fucking furious at the Democrats. If this turns around by November, it could be a blowout win for him. I mean, he wins re-election, the House and the Senate, and it's all his way. Okay. The thing that I've noticed about Trump is that he is one lucky son of a bitch. I personally, on a personal level, I can't stand him. Okay. I can't stand him. Every time I hear him talk, I cringe. Okay. I actually can't watch him for very long. Do I prefer him to Hillary Clinton? Hell yeah. You know, I think that Hillary Clinton is just an evil woman, right? Do I think the Democrats are morons? Hell yeah. I mean, look, I'm a conservative. You guys know this, okay? I'm a hard right conservative. But I don't particularly care for Donald Trump. I'm not like a Trump fan, but I admire the fact that he knows how to fuck with people's heads. He knows how to fuck with them really good. And the Democrats have made fools of themselves by putting up roadblocks to the stimulus package. The stimulus package is essentially the same stimulus package that had been negotiated the previous Sunday, right? That Nancy Pelosi flew in and blocked, right? And presented her absurd stimulus package that everybody just ignored, right? Well, so it was basically a delay of about 10 days for no purpose. And I think that the Democrats are going to pay for that. I think that, I mean, what I'm saying is that Donald Trump is lucky in his enemies, because his enemies are fools. And they are so obsessed with hating on him and trying to bring him down that they just play into his hands, and they make people like him more. I think he's going to win, okay? I mean, if I'm betting money now, I'm betting he wins. I do not think that Andrew Cuomo is going to be the Democratic nominee, because everybody's saying that, you know, Joe Biden is old, and he is. He's old and senile. The poor man should be put in a home, for crying out loud. The guy, he's visibly deteriorating, you know? I don't think he's going to be the nominee. I think it's going to be Hillary Clinton, okay? And I know that sounds insane. I know how crazy that sounds, but I think that she's going to figure out a way to be the nominee, because she wants it. She can taste it. She wants it so bad. I don't think it's going to be Andrew Cuomo, because Andrew Cuomo has a lot of problems, because right now he's the big hero, right? But he's got a lot of problems and a lot of corruption and a lot of creepy shit going on in Albany, right? And a lot of people hate his guts in New York. And so at the first chance they get to screw him over, they will, and they'll leak a whole bunch of shit that will torpedo him, right? I think that he knows that. I think he's smart enough to know that he can't beat Trump.
Yeah. See, I hear what you're saying. I do somewhat disagree with how Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats trying to stop the stimulus will come back to bite them. And the reason I say that is because I've noticed, like, I'm 33 years old, and I've noticed that at least in terms of voting, Americans are very, like, their memory is very short, right?
Yes.
So when the election comes around in November, they're not going to remember, they're not going to think about how individuals voted on the stimulus bill in March. I really thought that Trump had it in the bag with the strong economy, but now things are questionable. And I just wanted some if-then statement, like you said, like, if it turns around by November, Trump's got it. And I guess the inverse of that could be also extrapolated from what you said. But yeah, I just want some thoughts and on that.
The key issue is that everybody did think that the strong economy was on Trump, but nobody's blaming him for the crashed economy. Okay, I mean, crazy ass leftists are saying shit like that maybe, but most people aren't saying, "Ooh, Trump crashed the economy." No, they're saying this coronavirus thing crashed the economy. The Chinese crashed the economy. not Trump. He's not getting the blame. But you're absolutely right, by the way, that people have a very short memory. So we'll have to wait and see. What do you think is going to happen?
I think if I agree with you, if it comes or if it starts to turn around before the election, Trump's got a good shot just because the other side are just a bunch of fucking morons. But I do think that if shit gets bad, Americans can either go one of two ways. Either they can say, hey, things are so bad right now that we shouldn't change leadership because that will just add more chaos to it. Or what's more likely, I believe, would happen is if shit got bad, they would just be like, oh, Trump fucked up. He should have done more. When in hindsight, it's easy to say what someone should have done, when in reality, as the moment you're making decisions and shit, you don't know if it's the best until like months afterwards when you have the benefit of hindsight. So I would say if shit gets bad, it's probably not going to be good for Trump because Americans are so fickle. They'll be like, oh, Trump, it was all fake economy. He crashed it just like Bush crashed it in 2008 and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to like it. You're absolutely right that the American public is fickle. And between now and November, it's what? April, May, June, July, August, September, October. That's 7 months. In politics, that's an eternity. So we'll see how it goes.
True.
Yeah. Great
True.
talking to you, Stephen. Hope to see you next week. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
No problem, man. Thank you.
All right.
Michael Zhu didn't raise his hand, but he sent a message here that he says, I'd love to ask you a question next if possible. Sure, Michael. Michael, you there?
Hey, Coach.
How's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Did the little hand thing doesn't work? Because to get my attention, just raise the hand in the future.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll know that for next time.
So what's up? What can I help you with?
Well, like I loved your video on writing discipline, like if you write 1,000 words a day, you could, accomplish great things in publishing.
Yep.
So I just wanted to ask you, what are 3 things that I could do maybe 1,000 times a day? I'm 23 right now, but when I'm 40, when I'm 50, would pay huge dividends and ensure that I won't be a bum at that age and actually be at the top of my class.
Like, what can you do, like, consistently, you mean?
What's that?
Are you asking what to do? I mean, you're how old are you again? 20?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're asking what can you do now consistently that will, if not guarantee, then at least very much help you to succeed when you're older? Is that what you're asking?
Exactly.
Okay, sure. I'll tell you right now. It's real simple. The thing that I regret deeply, is 2 things. I didn't practice a musical instrument, and I didn't run or exercise when I was 20. Okay. Now you'd think that, playing a musical instrument and like running or doing exercise, big fucking deal. But actually, you regret it later, because the other stuff like school and stuff, it has like a momentum of its own. You're gonna be going to school and whatnot. I'm gonna mute you for a second because I'm getting like awful feedback.
Sure.
Okay. When you're young, you tend to waste a lot of time and throw it away on random shit like video games or whatever, right? I wish I'd spent my time when I was young perfecting things and getting really good at, like I said, a musical instrument, guitar specifically, and I'd work out more. Work out like between half an hour and an hour every day. Like, sweat really hard between half an hour and an hour every day. Because when you're young, you're lazy and you figure you've got plenty of time. And I know a lot of guys who are in their 40s and 50s who are in horrible shape physically. They're like kaput, because they didn't take care of themselves. They didn't do any kind of exercise, and their body starts to fail on them pretty badly. And you realize that if they kept up a discipline of like doing a little bit of exercise all the time, they'd be in much better physical shape. Also, what happens is that when you are consistently doing physical exercise, your head is a lot sharper. Your body influences your mind. And if you're eating crap and just sitting around watching TV and getting overweight, your mind is going to suffer. Your mind is going to be foggy. And I've noticed that in my own case that whenever I'm like on a health kick and really exercising and you know doing it consistently, I'm just sharper. I'm just more on the ball. Okay. The other thing I would recommend, as I said before, is learn to do public speaking. Public speaking, learning it well, learning to talk in front of a group of people is such an important skill. It's actually, now that I think about it, probably the most important skill. To be able to confidently speak to a room full of people and have them nod along and agree to what you're saying. It's so important. You see what I'm saying, Michael? Hang on, let me unmute you here so that, yeah. Hello, you there?
Absolutely. And I just want to end off with this. Consistency times effort equals fucking confidence. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Thank you very, very much. Hope to see you next week.
See ya.
Okay, look, we've gone, holy shit, 3.25 hours. Okay, I think that you guys have had enough of me. I could keep on going, okay? So I'll, if you guys wanna split, that's perfectly fine. But I'm gonna answer, okay, 2 more questions, and then I'm gonna call it a night because I'm actually kind of hungry and I gotta go pee. So let me get here. Wait. Yave Rodriguez. Yeah, that's an interesting name. Yave Rodriguez. You there? Hello?
Hey, Coach. How are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good, good. By the way, my name is Yave. He's not Jave.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Yave.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. No problem. No problem. By the way, I'm born and raised in Peru, but I live in Richmond, Virginia. I live in the States from 2006. I'm already a citizen, and I'm very concerned about all this shit, you know?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, first of all, thank you for everything. You know, I'm very happy for finally like talking, you know, with you. Thank you so much. And my question is, did you recommend file for bankruptcy right now? Because I remember in one of your videos you said like in your case, you know, you will get a lot of credit cards and cash it out and fuck it, you know.
Well, yeah, if things get heavy, sure. I was that's what I would do if I were broke, if I didn't have any money and no job and no source of income. Okay. Now I don't know the issue of unemployment insurance. Okay, I have no idea how it works. I've never applied to it, and I assume that it works different in different states. Okay, I'm assuming, you know, in this case that you are broke and you have no income. Then what I would do, yeah, because I talked 2 cases. I said, what if I were like fully invested in the stock market and I had a lot of capital, but it was in the stock market, what I would do in that situation, and what I would do if I was just flat broke with no money and a decent credit score. And basically both outcomes was the same, which is get as much cash, ready cash on hand, because you don't know how this is going to play out. And so you want to be in cash. And so I said, if I were fully invested in the stock market, I'd cash out, which is what I personally did. And if I were flat broke and didn't have any access to cash, I would just max out a bunch of credit cards and get the cash for it and just hold on to the cash and weather the storm out. That's what I was thinking. Now, the idea is the same. It's you want to have cash during this period because you don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Now, as to filing bankruptcy, I don't know. I mean, that's like, what exactly would be the point of that? Or you'd have to. I don't know what exactly the point of it would be. If there's a clear goal as to what benefit filing for bankruptcy would have for you, okay, that's fine. But just, I mean, why would you want to file for bankruptcy? Do you have like a lot of debts at this time?
Oh yeah. First of all, yeah, I have a lot of debt. I still have credit. It's kind of good credit so far. But I have a friend who filed for this like 10 years ago, and then I explained, you know, to him my situation, And he told me, bro, if you want to do that, I guess this is a perfect opportunity because people right now in the whole States are thinking like you right now, because if no income, they still have credit, and like you said, max it up all the credit cards you can do, and like he said, when I filed for this, I went to the lawyer, I went to the court, and the judge, they were asking you why you do this, and then in this case is they will completely understand you.
Well, you got to talk to a lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
This is stuff way out of my league. I mean,
yeah.
And anything I tell you, okay, it would be wrong, because I mean it'll depend on your situation and what debts you have. Remember, there are some debts that you cannot discharge in bankruptcy, like student loans.
No, I know nothing about that. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then like my friend told me like do that because the judge is gonna relieve everything. So at the end of the day, you will keep all the cash for you.
Yeah, but you talk to a lawyer. Don't take my word for that kind of shit. Talk to a lawyer. Yeah.
No, because my thought was like, what you think about it, and that's it. That was my main question.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But thanks for being on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, no, because in my particular case, I kind of fucked up because I have my own little recording studio, and then I started working with some bands, during tours, and then now everything's canceled. Yeah. And my own clients for for recording and mixing, there's a cancel, and shit. And right now I kind of desperate, and I started doing GrabHub and Uber Eats, for get some kind of income.
Yeah.
I can't complain, For example, the last 2 weeks I get some kind of decent money, but still,
yeah,
it's hard. It's pretty hard right now.
Yes, it's extremely hard. It's extremely hard. Yeah, I know, and I know several guys who are working in Uber or Uber Eats. Yeah, just to put food on the table. It's a rough period that we're going through, and unfortunately, this is not going to get any better. It's not. It's going to last a long time, and there are going to be a lot of heavy and very difficult days in the future. That's my thinking. So
totally. Yeah, totally. Well, Coach, thank you for everything, and I hope I can meet you at least once in face to face.
Yeah. And then, I mean, when airlines are flying again, I'll definitely go to the States and I'll do like a round. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds so sick. I hope so too. All right, Coach.
Take it easy,
thank you
man.
so much. Muchas gracias
Bye.
por todo. Okay, bye.
Oh, thank you. And there was a couple of questions from Simon Salate. So he doesn't have his hand up, but I'll ask him if he has something to say. Simon, you there? Hello. Simon, you there? I guess he doesn't have a. Well, he said here. Hi, Coach. Good morning. My wedding was planned for May 24th. Should I start thinking about changing that day in view of the circumstances? Yeah, Simon, that's not going to happen. The May 24th date. I mean, you can of course get married, but I don't think anybody's going to show up because there's travel bans and whatnot. And even so, people are going to be damn nervous about getting together and because of coronavirus. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting married because you want to be with this woman, right? So, yeah, that's go ahead with that, but you're not going to have any kind of ceremony or anything like that. And the last question here, I'm going to get to Mike Harton. Let me see, Mike, you there?
What's up, Coach? Greetings from Westchester.
I'm sorry?
Greetings from Westchester.
Westchester, where? Which Westchester?
New York.
Oh, I used to live there.
Yep, I remember that from a video. Yorktown, right?
Yep.
I'm from Cortland Manor.
Oh, yeah. How have you been? How are things going over there?
Oh, it's going good. Right up until COVID-19.
Yeah, it's like put a crimp in everyone's style now, didn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So my question is more about Europe, but I guess it can also apply to the US. you know as well as I that there's a plethora of like immigrants from the Middle East and Africa currently in Europe, and they either have a job or basically on government-sponsored welfare. However, with the virus, many European natives they will become obviously unemployed or will become more reliant on social services in order to make ends meet. So, do you suspect that this will be a huge wake-up call for these guys, the native Europeans, and there'll be more disconnect with the migrants basically taking their jobs and draining government funds?
Yeah, basically. I would say yes. I think that the people are going to be like, what the fuck are these people doing here? You know? And see, because it's all good and fine to be very generous when things are going well. But when things start getting difficult, you know, charity dries up real quick. And the patience to have people who don't want to integrate and who live in their own areas of the city, very separate from the rest. Yeah, I think it's going to be very natural, and they're going to want to get rid of them. Simple as that. And so, yeah, and of course, politicians and whatnot, they're reflexively going to be like, oh, that's racist, and you shouldn't do that. That's xenophobic or whatever. But see, when people start getting desperate, okay, it's very easy for them to start focusing on somebody, some external factor, and say, ah, that's the thing to blame. And I think that it could very easily be the immigrants, irrespective of the things that you were talking about, by the way. And so I think that this could potentially have a very strong impact on the native European populations insofar as their relationship with immigrants from the Middle East and Africa. It's already happening in France. In France, there are all kinds of riots going on and shit with the yellow vests, and they've been going on for over a year. The thing is that the mainstream media is not reporting it, but it's still happening. We'll see how it goes. Now, if the Europeans don't do anything, then you know that the Europeans are a broken people, that they are just not going to defend themselves against anything, and they're going to be overrun by these immigrants from Africa and the Middle East. You know, it's simple as that. But I think that this is actually their last gasp to sort of like, you know, stand up for themselves.
Yeah, I can really see it going either way. Either them taking a stand and basically becoming more nationalistic, or them just basically cucking out how it's been the past few years.
Yeah, but I think that this would be the ultimate cucking out. I think it would be like the end stage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the Europeans in general, because I think that the Europeans have, the 20th century was horrible. How many millions of Europeans died in the First World War and then the Second World War? And then the German diaspora, where they just shoved everybody out of where they had lived for centuries and shoved them and dumped them into East Germany. Because, you know, where Germany is today, right? Or let me phrase that, where Poland is today. There used to be a whole boatload of Germans, millions of them, and they were kicked out of their own country and shoved into what today is Germany. Yeah. And the whole Poland is a parallelogram that was shifted over 200 kilometers. And that has had tremendous impact on the German people, the German psyche. The millions of Frenchmen who died, the millions of British who died in the world wars, especially in the First World War. That was the one that really hurt, you know, because the best of the best were killed. And in all those countries, in Germany and France and England, the best of the best were all killed pointlessly, needlessly, in a pointless war that lasted way, way too long. You know, it was a meat grinder.
You said
and
before,
that has an effect on people. What?
I heard you say before, like I think in your podcast, that after 100 years, a country really starts to experience the effects of a tragedy. So basically, this is almost 100 years after World War I.
Yep. And we're seeing it. They're defeated. They're a defeated people. You know. I lived in Germany for a while. They're nice as can be, but they just, you know, you say boo to them and they like roll over. You know. Yeah, it's real sad. And the French are just pathetic. You know. I mean, they're real pathetic. It's just sad. You know. Well, everything comes to an end, you know. Yeah, you have to understand that nothing gold can stay. It was that line from Robert Frost. Yeah, everything ends, you know, and it's a tragedy for those who watch it, but. And so with those words, it's great talking to you, by the way, Mike, man, but I'm going to wind it down because all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I'm like tired.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to wind it down. Take care, Mike. I'll catch you next week.
Sure.
I wanted to thank you all for attending. And yeah, this has been going on for 3.5 hours. I hope you enjoyed it, most important of all. And I hope I gave you some insights and some food for thought, which I think is the most important thing. At the end of the day, it's not so much if I say something that you agree with or disagree with, it's rather if it makes you think and say to yourself, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Or, oh no, he's totally wrong. And see, I don't mind if you think that I'm totally wrong because it'll make you think better, more clearly about what you think about any given situation. And if you think I'm wrong, it's perfectly fine. Just have good reasons to say that I'm wrong, okay? That's the important thing. So anyway, I really enjoy doing these, and I'm gonna definitely be doing this every week, okay? Like I said before in the previous post, there are gonna be 2 tiers. There's gonna be the regular tier before, the $5 a month, and you get the extra video every week, right? And that is gonna keep on going on. And then there's the $10 tier, which is gonna be those videos every week on Wednesday, and these webinars. These webinars are gonna be happening every Sunday at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern. 11 a.m. Eastern is because in the West Coast, where I have some people who fans and such, it's gonna be 8 a.m., which is a reasonable hour. And people in Europe and in India, it's going to be the afternoon or the early evening, also a reasonable hour. The only people who are going to miss out, unfortunately, are the people in Australia. But I have fans all over, and so this seemed like the best time. It's going to continue on into the future. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that you guys will, you know, join me on this adventure. And like I said, I'm going to try to, every one of these, I'm going to be talking about different things, like make it a variety show. Make it, you know, sometimes about economics, like this time around, other times about politics. Next one, I want to talk about politics and how this is shaking out politically, the coronavirus and all that shit. I'm also going to ask you guys in posts that are just going to be for this tier, what you guys would like me to talk about, because I think that there's nothing wrong with asking that of your audience, of what you guys are interested in. Because a lot of times, you know, I might not be creative enough in terms of the topics, and you will give me good ideas. So I'm happy to, you know, steal some of your good ideas and pass them off as my own, sure. But you know what I'm saying, right? So yeah, that's how it's going to be. This is going to be indefinitely into the future, and yeah. So that being said, this has been the first weekly webinar, and I hope I catch you next time. So take care, guys.